Hello and welcome to News Morning here on Newday on TV3. My name is Beatrice, coming up in the next few minutes. Transparency International Ghana welcomes the Supreme Court's decision to uphold prosecutorial powers of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Also on this program this morning, divided opinions over the impact of the Supreme Court ruling that the delegate system used by political parties in election is unconstitutional. All of these stories and more in the next few minutes. My name is Beatrice. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Now, the Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision, has ruled that the powers of the Office of the Special Prosecutor to prosecute do not contravene Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution, which empowers the Attorney General with exclusive authority to initiate proceedings in the name of the Republic. The landmark ruling brings to an end the legal challenge over the OSP's prosecutorial powers, which had stalled a number of cases before the courts. Lord Edwasari is our court first correspondent. He brought us this report earlier.
Private legal practitioner Noah Damte filed a suit seeking declaration that Parliament acted unconstitutionally by establishing the Office of the Special Prosecutor with prosecutorial authority independent of the Attorney General. In his suit, which sought 8 reliefs, the plaintiff argued, among other things, that Article 88 of the Constitution exclusively vests prosecutorial powers in the Attorney General and that Parliament could not, through an ordinary act of Parliament, confer similar powers on another institution without first amending the Constitution. During proceedings, the Attorney General aligned with that constitutional argument, maintaining that prosecutorial powers ought to be subject to the Attorney General's control and supervision rather than being permanently exercised by an autonomous statutory body. Lawyers for the OSP filed a joint application to be added as respondents in the case, but it was dismissed by the Apex Court on the grounds that the existing parties could adequately assist in determining the matter. A 7-member panel of the Supreme Court, presided over by Chief Justice Bafo-Boni on Wednesday, July 29, held that the OSP has the authority to independently initiate and prosecute cases. The Apex Court, however, noted that the Attorney General retains the power to enter a nolle prosequi in the case initiated by the OSP, adding that all prosecutions, convictions, and freezing orders secured by the OSP remain valid. Reacting to the ruling, Executive Director of the Transparency International Ghana, Mary Ada, expressed satisfaction.
For us today, it's a clear win. It's a win because it now tells or grants the SSP the relief. It also gives him the opportunity to move beyond all the heckling and all the issues that he's been dealing with over time. Attorney General, as he stands today, or as that office stands today, is bedeviled with a lot of challenges, particularly when it comes to in-regime accountability still remain. And so who else to do that but to have an office that is dedicated to do so?
Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai also spoke to the media.
The AG can now discontinue cases started by the...
No, but that has always been our position, so...
The decision of the Supreme Court paves the way for cases such as that of former NPA boss Mustafa Hamid and former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Attah's SML matter to continue. Lord Edwasari, TV3 News, Accra.
We stay at the court, and founding member of the NPP, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, has described the scrapping of the delegate system by the Supreme Court as a major win for democracy. Earlier, the Apex Court, in a majority decision of 5-2, declared the delegate system unconstitutional and directed political parties to put in measures within a year to allow all members in good standing to vote. Lord Edwasari again.
Former Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng, veteran politician Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo and former Education Minister Dr. Christina Mwakoniama filed a suit at the Supreme Court challenging the constitutionality of the delegate-based systems used by Ghana's major political parties to elect their presidential and parliamentary candidates. The three plaintiffs were seeking constitutional declarations against the New Patriotic Party, the NDC, and Convention People's Party. They argue that the party's internal electoral arrangements disenfranchise ordinary members and violate the democratic principles entrenched in the 1992 Constitution. In its decision, which was dissented from by Justices Esiedu and Gaiwu, the Supreme Court held that the delegate system creates a limited electoral pool that facilitates money politics. The court indicated that although opening party primaries to all members in good standing would better promote constitutional democracy, it could also increase campaign costs. The Director of Elections for the NPP, Gary Namakon, was not enthused by the court's decision.
They said everybody should vote. Members in good standing should vote.
All members in good standing
should vote. Yeah. Who's going to pay for the cost?
Says it's necessary to promote the.
Who is going to pay for the cost of the elections?
They did admit that it's going to increase the financial burden.
So who's going to pay for the cost of the elections?
Obviously, the political parties.
The political parties? Well, let's wait and see.
NPP founding member and plaintiff in the case, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, expressed satisfaction with the ruling.
If the ruling had been different, that would have been a great worry to me, because I know eventually it would destroy the democracy we are trying to build. Because what is happening now is known to everyone. If you have money, you buy your way. If you don't have the money, you'll get nowhere. So I'm happy that monocracy has been curtailed today by the Supreme Court.
Director of Policy Engagement and Partnerships at CDD Ghana, Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante, also spoke to the media.
The next step now is they gave them a year. And that's where I think we, all of us, should engage, and I think civil society should engage. What should be the systems that I really believe that we need to revisit the political parties law, because internal regulation of parties, that leaves it to just the constitution. It's not sufficient to guarantee us the things that we want from political parties. So maybe this is a good conversation for all of us to have.
A legal representative of the NDC reacted to the ruling.
We actually argued in support of the writ and the reliefs, and we are happy that the Supreme Court has granted them. The court was clear that within 1 year, all political parties must try to accommodate to this judgment. So let's read the judgment and we'll take it up from there.
The 7-member panel that heard the case comprised Chief Justice for Bafo Boni, Justice Gabriel Skopamang, Justice Isifu Omoro, Justice Tanko Amadu, Justice Samuel Adibu Esiedu, Justice Senyo Jamefe, Justice Enes Yao Jewu, and Justice Subari Lodido Asari. TV3 News, Accra.
In a related development, members of parliament are equally divided over the Supreme Court landmark ruling scrapping the political parties' delegate system. As some argue, expanding participation to all registered party members could increase the cost of internal elections and worsen the monetization of party politics. Others believe the decision will have little practical impact since parties may still limit primaries to their members. A report by Christian Yale.
The Supreme Court has made one emphatic ruling that it is unconstitutional to continue to use the party delegate system. But many believe this could rather worsen the vote buying concerns. Members of Parliament have shared split opinions.
Expanding it to make everybody vote will not stop monocracy. In fact, it will increase it. So if it is stopping monocracy, that's why they are doing that. I'm sorry, it's not going to stop monocracy. Unless somebody has not gone for an election. If you've gone for an election, you will know that it's going to get worse.
If we keep saying that we need to increase this because once the number is increased, people won't pay. Look, it will surprise you to know that if somebody wants to pay, that if people are paying, it doesn't matter when it goes to 10,000. They will select those people and pay them.
Politicians and candidates standing for elections would now have to spend money more on communication and on their campaign structures generally, because you are now reaching a much bigger number of people. But what has been obscene, the payment of money to individuals to go and vote for you, which has become almost an acceptable subculture I think will be addressed by this decision.
Internal politics comes with cost implications. Some ask, was it better with a delegate system, or this expansion of numbers could worsen the cost of organizing internal polls? Or maybe the state could consider public funding for political parties.
If you ask me, I don't think that we need to continue to burden the state with this cost. Allow the person who wants to contest to bear his cost. And that is why the NPP felt that we didn't have to bring the state to this at this time. We don't have to involve the state.
So Zimbabwe, South Africa, all those countries, what they do. You can't do that. We can't do what we do here. As a candidate, you cannot just wake up and start dishing out money. Someone will come and say, this candidate gave me. The moment it were to be said that somebody gave you 5,000, it was from this person, that person will be disqualified. And in fact, you can go to jail for it. So I wanted to bring legislation on it. But of course, the Supreme Court has taken the wind out of all of us ourselves.
When people say it's going to be costly, I want to see what are the component elements of the general budget that is making this costly. Is it the setting up of polling stations? We must see, once we know the details, we'll be in a position to suggest how we beat down the cost and how we make this happen.
Let the questions and conversations on this subject matter continue, but what is clear is that Ghana is seeking to solidify its democratic credentials through this landmark ruling by the Supreme Court, which ruling has been questioned and lauded at the same time. Christian Yale, TV3 News, Parliament.
Let's bring you some more here. And imagine escaping an abusive home only to discover you have nowhere safe to go. For many domestic violence survivors in Ghana, that is the reality. A review of the 2026 national budget by the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA Ghana, has revealed that there is no dedicated allocation for the construction or expansion of shelters for survivors. Examining the impact of this funding gap, Nura Mohammed has the rest of the story.
For survivors of domestic violence, safety is often measured by having a secure place to sleep or escape to. But according to FIDA Ghana, that remains out of reach for many. Its analysis of the 2026 national budget shows that while the domestic violence fund has been increased to 1.6 million Ghana cedis from 337,500 Ghana cedis in 2025, it is still below the 2.7 million Ghana cedis allocated in 2024. More concerning, the organization says there is no dedicated funding for the construction or expansion of shelters for survivors. Susan Ayeti is the executive director of FIDA Ghana.
How much money is available for the DV fund? Now, that is of great concern to us because survivors of gender-based violence, survivors of domestic violence need essential services. And some of these essential services include medical care. It also includes legal support. It also includes psychosocial support and material support. And so if we don't have enough money to really, fund some of these essential services, then it means that the survivors have been left out.
FIDA Ghana notes that although the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection has received more than 116 million Ghana cedis for capital expenditure, none of it has been earmarked for shelter infrastructure.
So there are quite a lot of things that, the government, we believe, can do. And one of the key things is to make sure that, monies that are allocated to the Ministry of Gender are released, on time. And we are also saying that even if they are released a little bit late, they shouldn't be allowed to send back those monies to government chest. Out of the 16 regions, only 2 regions, can say they have some form of shelter, which is not even enough. So 14 regions basically do not have shelters. And so that's one thing that we need to look at.
Behind every number is a survivor, one who is searching for safety. And until more shelters become available, with increased funding and resources allocated to support them, the search to reclaim dignity and hope for a better future continues for many across the country. Nura Mohammed, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, a 5-member committee has been established to investigate students who participated and grievances and determine the root causes of recent protests at the Kobo Nursing Training College. The moves follow a decision by the Regional Security Council, RECSEC, to shut down the institution.
The Regional Security Council, RECSEC, has set up a 5-member investigative committee to probe to the root causes of the recent protests at Kobo Nursing Training College and recommend decisive measures to restore order. Composed of representatives from the Regional Coordinating Council, the Ministry of Health and Education, the Techiman Traditional Council, and the Ghana Police Service, the high-level panel has been tasked with examining student grievances regarding poor food quality, unapproved fees, restricted library access, and inadequate campus sanitation.
We've come out with a 5-member committee. So these people, we've directed that they should come to my office by tomorrow so that we will provide them with the terms of reference for them to start their work. Our decision, further decisions, will be based on the recommendations that the committee will bring.
While the school remains closed to facilitate proper investigations, regional authorities have ordered college management to implement immediate interim fixes to improve campus living conditions, urging students to remain calm while the committee prepares its formal report.
In the petition, they stated clearly that the school always gives them insufficient food and under quality food as well. So we directed the management to make sure this one is not beyond them. They should make sure they improve the quality and the quantity of the food for the students. They also touched on their library hours being too short for them to study. So we equally also directed that management should make sure they extend the library hours for them. They also raised issue on sanitation items. That one too, we don't think it should be beyond the ability and the capabilities of the management. So we equally directed that they should make them available to take care of the sanitation on campus. Whilst you are on demonstration, your other colleagues are learning. So we are equally pleading with the student. They should allow tensions calm down.
The investigation comes amid strong calls for accountability from the National Student Representatives of the Ghana Nurse Midwife Trainees Association. National President of the association emphasized that immediate intervention is needed to protect student academic progress.
And we are only calling for urgent action to be taken, and the demands of the students should be addressed as soon as possible so they can continue with academic activities. They are missing out a lot. Honestly, they are missing out a lot. The academic calendar is already short, and these are becoming distractions to their learning processes, and we are only hoping that the relevant authorities would act swiftly for all these concerns to be solved.
The investigative committee is expected to complete its review and submit a full report outlining decisive measures to address the administrative and welfare concerns raised by the student body. Regional authorities maintain that normal academic operations will resume once interim improvements are in place and order is fully restored. Belinda Tete, TV3 News, Kobo Nursing and Midwifery Training College, Kano East Region.
In a separate development, tension is mounting at the former Ameria Dairy farm after dozens of buildings were demolished, despite claims that the land was lawfully released by the government to its custodial owners. The affected developers accuse those behind the demolition exercise of acting outside of the law and are demanding compensation for their losses.
The Amrahia Dairy farmland was acquired through an executive instrument. On November 25, 2020, the government released 40% of the acquired land to the custodial owners following a series of engagements with the family heads. The family subsequently allocated portions of the land to private developers who began constructing residential and commercial buildings. Construction was progressing until Clemens Jato and a group of men reportedly moved onto the site and carried out a large-scale demolition.
This land was released to us in 2020, and as I'm standing here, I have a copy of the document. So these are the families that the government released the land to. Fast forward, we just heard one day that this Clemens Zato has come with policemen demolishing people's structures, people's buildings, people's investments, which is unlawful.
Most of the structures at various stages of completion were reduced to rubble under heavy security protection. Affected developers say the demolition took place on July 19, 2026.
They've demolished walls, they've demolished some structures, some buildings as well, all over the place. That they have instructions to demolish for the place to be rezoned. A government must be for the people, and the people will be for the government. If the government is not going to be for us, how does the same government want us to be for them?
The victims are calling on the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to intervene and stop what they describe as the unlawful actions of Clemens Jato. They are also demanding full compensation for their destroyed properties.
I bought this land from the rightful owner. I don't think the president of Ghana knows about this. We didn't wake up one day in the morning to be given the power to Jato Clement to put a gun into our head, to terrorize us here as a citizens. This is the time for us to end this land guard activities. We are not going to sit here idle.
The affected developers say they will pursue every legal avenue to seek justice if the authorities fail to intervene. They are urging the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to investigate the demolition, hold those responsible accountable, and ensure they are adequately compensated for their losses.
Chairman of Vice Chancellors Ghana, Professor Richard Amankwa, has called for a more balanced conversation on claims that university programs do not meet the demands of the job market. Speaking on the sidelines of the Vice Chancellors Ghana Conference on Higher Education in Accra, he said that while concerns about graduate unemployability are valid, it is inaccurate to suggest that all university programs are disconnected from industry needs.
The relevance of university education to the changing job market remains a major topic in the higher education sector. Speaking on the sidelines of the Vice Chancellors Ghana Conference on Higher Education in Accra, Chairman of Vice Chancellors Ghana, Professor Richard Amankwa, indicated that the issue should not be viewed as a blanket failure of the university system. Instead, he stressed the need for continuous assessment of academic programs to ensure they remain relevant to the evolving needs of industry and national development.
Certainly, it is not every program that we run in the university that will meet some conditions in the job market. I come from the University of Mines and Technology, and we train people not only to acquire certificates, but also to get skills for the minerals and allied industry. So, from where we are sitting, I can say that our programs really meet the job market. People are not trained in the university directly for specific industries. So when you employ a graduate, the first thing to do is to train the person to fit into your job space.
The conference brought together vice chancellors and educational leaders from across West Africa to discuss the future of higher education and how universities can embrace technology, strengthen digital infrastructure, and ensure graduates are equipped with skills that meet the demands of the modern job market.
We have to have this conversation to look at the policy direction in terms of educational leadership and transformation, and how this digital infrastructure and knowledge can be pushed to the next level as far as Ghana and the West African sub-region is concerned.
Executive Secretary of the Vice Chancellors Ghana, Dr. Sena Kweglo Freku, said the rapid pace of technological advancement makes it necessary for institutions to constantly review their approaches to teaching and learning.
We know that the strategies are there, the AI and all these things that they are including, but we want to look at the specific policies that institutions have in incorporating AI into their teaching and learning.
And that's all for News Morning here on New Day on TV3. My name is Beatrice Sedu. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. Do continue with us on New Day.
Hello, my name is Pamela from customer service. Please revalidate your account.
Off for a while at least, while they still try to fix the problem.
I agree that we need an update because yesterday, if you look at the statement, they were very strategic with their words that they were going to restore or work on it as soon and as safely as possible.
Yes.
There were not really any timelines that by close of yesterday we should have our lights back. But it's interesting because in the morning we had people during the This Morning segment telling us that their light had come. But like you rightly said, a lot more others also have not had their light. Myself this morning when I was coming, fortunately I had light when I got home and the light stayed on when I was coming back to work this morning. My lights were on, but the moment I left my community I realized the entire stretch was very dark, meaning that a lot more people still don't have light. And yesterday I spoke with somebody who lives in Wager and he was telling me that he also didn't have lights the entire day, and that was actually in the evening as well. So yeah, hopefully we get an update on because again, yesterday the statement didn't tell us what triggered this major fault. We should be able to find out within 24 hours, at least preliminary investigation should be pointing us to something and what they are doing to ensure that we restore power. Because people need their power to aside from the comfort you get with having your power, those whose main job has to do with electricity, it becomes a major challenge.
Absolutely. Yes. And, you know, the lucky thing was that yesterday the weather was fairly good.
Yes.
Very breezy, very cool, very airy.
Yes.
And so for a lot of people, maybe to some extent, they didn't exactly face a very difficult situation, even though their lights were off. But beyond even having your room, you know, airy,
Cool,
etc., it's also about your appliances, your fridge. You have food in the fridge, in the freezer. And imagine if your lights are off from 3 a.m. till 9 p.m. What happens to your food if you're not home?
Yes.
What do you do? You know, it's a lot of things that we need addressed. And yesterday, like you said, Gridco indicated that they had activated the established system restoration procedures. Engineers and system operators were working continuously in close collaboration with power sector stakeholders to restore power within the shortest time possible without compromising safety. And at the same time, they said a comprehensive technical investigation had commenced to determine the precise cause of this system event. What was the problem? Well, they didn't state exactly, but they said that the National Interconnected Transmission System experienced power system disturbance at approximately 3:11 a.m. on Wednesday, 29th July 2026. It's been 24 hours or more since this statement came out, and so we do hope that at least we can be apprised on what's been done so far and what our expectations should be like for the rest of the day, especially for people whose lights may still be off. And if you're like me, who, you know, had your lights restored and just this morning it's gone off again, then you're also wondering, is this still related to this system failure that Gridco was referencing? Or is there more to this matter or not? We need those answers. And we'll see if we can get those details for our viewers this morning. But let us know where you live. Let us know if your lights are back on or if they still are off. And, of course, if they came back on, at what time yesterday did your lights come back on? And are they still on as at this morning?
Yes. So, I mean, that's something that obviously we have to get an update on. But beyond that, it's amazing how Parliament, the Supreme Court decided to give these landmark rulings or judgments in one single day. I don't know what you think about the political parties system, the delegate system, the Supreme Court deciding to scrap it, declaring it as unconstitutional. We've already had both MPP and NDC reacting to it, and also the special prosecutors, prosecutorial powers intact. But there's a caveat there that the AG can still discontinue any case started by the OSP.
At whose cost, though? And that's the question that some of the lawyers are asking as well, because then the AG should be ready to bear the cost of having to discontinue a case that is far advanced to a large extent. What would be the reason? And they'll have to come out and explain into detail why they thought it was necessary to file a null prosecution at that point. You know, so it's a conversation that is developing, and of course, I'm sure we'll have a lot more people share their thoughts and opinions on it. I'm particularly looking forward to the conversation this morning and subsequently on Media General up until Saturday morning. I want to hear what the stakeholders
this Saturday
have
is
to
going
say.
to be hot on
but for me, I think that the concern also has been the fact that for a long time we had bemoaned the monetization of, you know, politics, party politics and elections in this country. Not long ago, we saw how an NDC stalwart was alleged to have given TV sets, eggs, money, etc., just to win a primary election in one constituency, just so he can represent his party. I mean, eventually later he said he had no idea about it, even though before that he had said that, oh, it was just a gift that he was given to, you know, the delegates to vote.
Indeed.
But now beyond that, we also saw how a presidential election, you know, for a particular party as well, also had these delegates or these candidates share money. 3,000, we're hearing 4,000, and now these delegates were so boldened that they came to a point where they said, if this one gives us more money than this one, then we'll vote for this person. Or if he doesn't give us this money, then we won't vote.
To an extent that, you know, when I saw, I remember ahead of the 2024 general election, there were videos.
Welcome, Roland, by the way. I know, right? He gets staring at you like, are you going to mention my name or not?
Introduce me. You know what? You guys say, shift. Let me sit down.
You're welcome. Do you have lights? You were saying. Do you have lights though?
No, I don't.
You don't have
You
lights?
have lights?
No,
you don't have lights. Okay. Yeah, so I was just saying that 2024, I saw videos. I actually didn't believe earlier when I heard. But later when I saw that women or some women were actually wearing different shirts of the different candidates, knowing that if, for instance, Bella is coming in at 9, I'm wearing that with Bella, I take your money. Roland comes at 11, I take his money. And at the end of the day, they decide which of them they want to vote for. But I don't know whether I should say I'm excited about what people hope this would achieve. Because, again, we were here last year when CDD told us that you need about $200 million for you to run as a presidential candidate alone. And is it $150 or $600,000 to be a member of parliament? And that is even different
actually
from...
68,000, I think.
I saw 600,000 for dollars for parliament, those who want to be candidates, and that is also aside from going to what they call nurse the communities. So you go there, the constituency, it's so much money involved. So really within this 1 year that the Supreme Court is saying the political parties should put in the structures, hopefully the structures don't complicate things and make the situation even worse, but we're able to see some sort of you know, clarity, and there should be transparency where our monies are coming from. We've not been able to solve that problem as well in terms of financing of political parties. So, Roland.
Fantastic. I don't know whether this solves the problem. However, it stretches the ability of individuals to be in a position where they will be able to pay. And then also convince others through maybe other means than what they think they have by way of their abilities to get them to represent them. However, I think the NDC has experimented with this before. So prior to 2016, around 2015, they did that. My experiences with some people I knew, like first-time MPs, etc., what happened was that their opponents in the same party, even over the period, made the decision to register others who were not, so to speak, core members or loyal people of the NDC, and they used that to remove them or to depose them during the primaries. So it has an advantage and disadvantage. Then there was wording in the public domain, and almost like a bragging right by the MPP at the time, subsequently, of course, led by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, that in their stronghold, like Ashanti, etc., they also fielded their own people in the NDC camps. And they also made a decision to vote against individuals they thought could also pose problems to their future candidates as well. So it has advantages and it has disadvantages. The point is that at the end of the day, the parties would need to adopt them at their conferences or congresses. Then subsequently, they also need to put in place mechanisms that will give them some level of certainty that this individual who is becoming a member and subsequently having a voting right is really affiliated to me in such a way that if that person makes that decision on who to vote for, it will be that person. The thing is, if this was implemented, maybe arguably individuals like Kenny Japan, etc., where their people claim they had the supporters of the grassroots of the party would be winning, you know. And so maybe also it gives a pointer to who is more popular among the political parties than those that are popular among the delegates.
Yeah. And I saw a post
but still,
like that.
It's still going to be a delegate election, only that an expanded form.
I saw that post from one of an individual, I don't know if he belongs to the NPP, but he had said that if this ruling had come before the NPP selected its presidential candidate, we probably would have had a different story.
Yeah, I've heard those arguments as well.
Just because they think that Kennedy may have the support of the base, things could have gone differently and more in his favor than Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We may never know this because the elections have been held already.
Yes, and already
Dr. Bawumia is...
Yeah.
But the NDC now have to face that in selecting its presidential candidate. I mean, for the NPP as well, the executives are yet to be elected.
Yes.
There's a 1-year lacuna for them to implement this ruling by the Supreme Court. Yes. Are they going to implement it almost immediately when they have their next elections, or will they still try to, say that, well, we have a 1 year,
I'm not sure whether,
period to implement, so let's give it time.
I'm not sure whether they would want to do that immediately, because we've had the members of parliament on the minority side saying that this is going to be expensive.
I mean, both sides, actually.
also spoke at the court as well. I don't know, what do you think, I mean, both of you, as regards the cost implications for the political parties?
It depends on who wants to look at it and from which angle. I think that there's a voter-buyer behavior that has been adopted by those who want to take up the position of parliamentary candidacy elections and then at the presidential level. And then secondly, over the period, the behavior that those who are elected into public office have put up is that when they get into office, they kind of alienate themselves from those who voted for them, i.e. the delegates, 1. 2, those that the delegates also represent in the various constituencies across the country. And so it's a behavior first that would need to be changed by a mindset before you come to the subject matter of money, because the money problem and the demands by individuals is a socio-cultural problem of Ghana.
Yes.
It is not only an extension of a behavior pattern within the political parties.
Yes.
When we make a service or we even contribute to somebody's livelihood, the first thing that comes into the mind of the Ghanaian person is that, oh, please, this one, Bella has done well, so Charlie, take a parting gift. It takes, sometimes you have to force people to say, oh, take it. Even though the person doesn't want to.
They'll even ask you, won't you give me something small?
Yes.
I've worked for you. Or, especially even, I'm not putting them, under the radar, but, security guards at various institutions, just because they're helping you to join the road again.
Yes.
They can't say, oh, hello, madam. And they're expecting some handouts. And if you say, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't have anything. Oh, okay. It's concerning.
I mean, it's so endemic. And I think I've said it here before that I went to a municipal assembly to make some inquiries. And before I left, the man said, "Unimsa open in tema brown envelope. In 3 days' time, you get your job done." And I wasn't enthused.
Meanwhile, it'll cost less to even get the process.
Exactly. So it's really endemic. But you see, you talk about mindset change before we even think about the law. But I think that if the law is in and we implement it, it will force people to align.
Well,
I think that if you're serious about implementing it properly, then people will have to align.
Speaking of alignments, let's go into this morning's segment. Let's align properly with our producer. It's time now for the This Morning segment. We'll talk about the power situation, see if we can get any updates. And then the BEC results are in as well. We'll give you all the deets on that.
on Newday on TV3. Welcome to the This Morning segment. Yes, we're asking you whether your lights are back, whichever area you find yourself. And also we want to get an update as well regarding the power situation. First of all, what might have caused it? Let's speak to Richmond Roxon, who speaks for the Ministry of Energy. He joins us live on the phone, I believe. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning to you, Beatrice, and thank you for the opportunity.
It's been 24 hours since we had Gridco issuing that statement about the major power problem. Within the last few hours, what have you established in terms of preliminary investigations regarding what might have caused the power issue that we're experiencing now?
The briefing we have as a ministry from Gridco is that preliminarily, they believe that the issue was caused by a lightning strike, but this is early. Like I said, preliminary, and they are still conducting some further investigations. And so that's the briefing that we have. But I'm sure that definitely as the system improves and as they complete the restoration process, they'll be able to give us a comprehensive report on the way forward. Continue.
No, please go ahead.
Yeah, so from last night when the incident happened around 3:11 a.m., we had widespread power supply deficit. From about 5-6 a.m., the restoration process started, and it is still ongoing. You know, such magnitude of events are very, very devastating. And once you are dealing with the power sector infrastructure, in as much that you would want to quickly restore power for consumers, you would have to do it carefully to make sure that you don't compromise the integrity of the power infrastructure and then also safety. And so the engineers have been working on it carefully. So I'm sure that people have noticed that from time to time, some areas come back on stream, and then the process is still ongoing. And so we'll plead with the people of Ghana to bear with us. The engineers have been working since 3 a.m. The staff of the ministry, staff, the CEO of Gridco, I know he has been at the station where they are trying to do the recovery since the incident happened around 4 a.m. and they are still there.
You're saying yesterday the statement from Gridco suggested that there was a system disturbance. This morning, I've heard you say there was a lightning strike. Is that what Gridco earlier referred to as a system disturbance?
Yes.
Based on the preliminary investigation?
Yes, what you mentioned. So yesterday, at the time, Gridco was putting up a statement. Of course, the system had been disturbed. The cause was not known at the time. What had happened was the effect was that it had disrupted power supply. But so far, what we've been briefed is that is what they are attributing it to, that lightning strike, which affected some of them.
Lightning strike at which of the stations, and how much power have we lost so far since the incident?
The Gridco statement was very clear that it affected the national interconnection transmission system. And so that was the cause. It affected the line. So you know that once you generate, definitely from the generation point, you have to transmit from transmission, and then it gets to the various points. That's the I don't want to sound so technical. And so once the transmission side is affected, obviously the entire system will be challenged.
So what I meant by that question was which parts of your systems, where it starts from, and how much power we've lost. I'm not sure I have clarity in terms of the answer.
I mentioned that the national interconnection transmission system, that's what was affected. So I'm sure that you are looking for specific. You think it's maybe you're looking for Pokwasi substation, the substation. No, that's not it. There's a national interconnection transmission system. That is where you get the power, and then from there you transmit the power to the various BSP substations. That is what has been affected. And so that was what is being restored. Luckily, unfortunately, we've made significant progress. I'm sure that when you speak to your viewers, a lot more people will tell you that they've had power restored, even though the restoration process, like I said, because it takes time, it's been done in different areas from different moments from time to time. And so others had their power restored as early as yesterday morning around 5, 6 a.m. As at last night, others had power restored. I know that this dawn, others have also had restored. So it's a process that they are doing systematically to make sure that the system is not compromised. That is very important. If you rush and then you restore and then the entire system breaks down, you can imagine what we'll be going through as a country. And so we'll plead with people to give us just some time. The engineers are working on it, and they'll be assured that they get the power supply.
The other part of the question is, how much power did we lose as a result of this? How much has been restored? And for those who still don't have lights, do we have any timelines as regards when they should expect their lights back?
From your last question, I can't give a specific timeline because you do this thing carefully and systematically. If you give, I can't tell you that they will come within 1 hour, 2 hours. If the engineers advise that it is appropriate to restore power in 1 minute, they will do that. They advise that where we are, we have to break this phase up. That will be done. If you're asking about what the power we lost, I don't want to put a specific figure to it. The quick statement mentioned that it affected the generational plants. What it means is that once the transmission system was not up, you wouldn't even need to do the generation. If you generate, why are you going to transmit? And so all these plants had to practically come to a halt.
You're not able to tell us how much of it has been restored so far?
So far, the restoration, Gridco, I'll put the figure around between 80 to 90%. That's what has been done.
All right, we'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Richmond Roxon. He speaks for the Energy Ministry, bringing us some clarity as regards what might have happened. He says it was a lightning strike, and he's still not able to tell us how soon, for those of you who don't have lights, you'll be able to get your lights, but assuring that engineers are working round the clock to bring back your lights. So thank you very much once again for joining us.
Well, I did speak to a couple of people I know within Gridco, not at the top level, but within the middle level, management level. They said most areas are in, but there are some areas that are still out. So we'll take that into our strides and then see. But we also have the latest update from the West African Examination Council, who have formally released information on the Basic Education Certificate Examination result for 2026. And according to the West African Examination Council, you have to get onto their portal to get the latest as well. But just to apprise you of what the numbers are, or to inform you of what the numbers are, in total, in excess of 620,000 candidates wrote the examinations. And then by ratios of males and females, 300,000 plus for males and 315,000 plus for females. And so far, according to the West African Examination Council, some 20,789 schools took part in the exams. And it includes 136 candidates with visual impairment, 282 with hearing impairments, 510 candidates with other test accommodation needs, and the examination was also conducted in some 2,223 centers across Ghana. Now, out of those numbers that were registered, some 3,600 plus one candidates were absent for reasons WAEC has not stated. They also reported a number of incidents of malpractice at various centers, what they call irregularities. Now, the irregularities, according to WAEC, were noticed at the exam centers and then also when they were marking scripts. So far, they say they've cancelled the subjects' results of some 496 candidates, total cancellation of some 105 candidates, and then also 119 have their results withheld for some subjects, and then also entire result of some 48 candidates have been withheld. Now, so far, you get to the breakdown. It also tells you what the subject results of some 2,722 other candidates from some 229 schools have been withheld for, and the reasons why. You have to go to the portal, get the latest update on this. But also, just in case you're one of those schools, you know what to do. You have to get in touch with WAEC. But largely, with the introduction or the announcement of the result and the result coming, it also means that the Ministry of Education, through the school placement system or secretariat, then we'll have to get ready to make sure that they place the candidates. Now, Beatrice, as well as our viewers, what this one also has indicated, being a far departure from what has been practiced over the last couple of years, is that candidates are now going to choose which schools they are going to attend. Before now, you have to choose your school, and then when your results come, you grapple with, based on which result you got, whether you have to go to the school of your choice, etc. And we know we have category A schools, category B schools, category C schools, and we'll get to see. Usually what the senior high school placement secretariat has done, or the Free Senior High School Placement Secretariat has done, is to make sure that just in case you haven't been placed the first time, you have to make a recourse to the center, and then they look at available spots for you. However, I think this time around, because candidates will now get to choose their schools, I'm sure they're going to do that having their results in mind. So if you had aggregates 55, then you know that you have to go down the tier for the school placement that you want. It helps in that order. But however, everybody else is free to choose whichever school, but again, dependent on availability, Beatrice.
Yes, indeed. We do have John Kapi on the line with us. Roland, if you help us with him. Mr. Kapi, if you can hear us, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And he actually speaks for WAEC, the head of public affairs at WAEC. So we've just gone through, okay, Roland.
Yeah, so we've just gone through this. Now, the candidates who, or the schools that have their results withheld, and the candidates who have their results withheld, have you already communicated to them?
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning to your listeners. You realize that we've put on our site, there's a place that you can go to and check the status of your results, especially whether they are withheld or cancelled. Just so that everybody is aware what is happening, because it will be difficult for us to reach each and every one of them. Previously, we would rather provide a phone number through which we send an SMS, but we realized that a lot of people were not receiving the message. So we've decided to make it a little better. So there's a way by which on our portal you can click on a button and then it tells you the status of your results.
So how many incidents? Okay, did you have tens of incidents recorded at the examination centers? Because according to the release, you notice more practices during the marking of scripts. So what about the centers?
Yeah, so what we have, for the ones that have been cancelled straight away, they are the ones that were detected in the course of the examination. Because we had monitors going around virtually every part of the country. And so that was when these incidents were discovered. And so the actions have been taken. Those ones wouldn't need to do any further scrutiny or further investigation. So these ones that you've noticed that action has been taken are based on the fact that were found in the course of the examination.
But we noticed that the numbers seem to be within range. If you compare this number to, let's say, last year's or the year before, what's your own assessment as a council?
Well, what we've realized is that there's been, quite, it is not so much of an increase per se. There are some of the figures that have gone up, others have come down. I don't have last year's figures in front of me, but I think that they are, like you said, within range, not necessarily because we are happy that people are still engaging in more practice, but we think that with the level of monitoring that we have introduced, it has reduced drastically the number of people who may want to engage in this kind of act.
The schools that haven't yet been chosen by the candidates, did you have a conferment or a meeting with the Ministry of Education before that decision was taken, or that's a sole preserve of the ministry?
Oh, well, when it comes to school selection and placement, that is the sole preserve of the ministry, the Ghana Education Service. We do not have a hand in handling those particular issues. So I'm not able to speak to those issues.
The last year, you were accused that you were too strict, comparable to other years before 2025. What decisions were made prior to the sitting of this year's 2026 BEC, particularly taking lessons from last year?
Well, we have received complaints. Fortunately for us, there are a number of persons who serve on our board from the universities, from tertiary institutions, and they complain a lot about the performance of some of the candidates, the students that are before them and who have to be taught and that kind of thing. So, obviously, it's not so much about being overly strict, but also ensuring that the rules of the examination are applied. Every year we review our activities. Every year we get feedback from various sectors of the country, especially as far as education is concerned. And so those are the things that inform our next line of action as far as enforcement is concerned.
I think as we wind down this interaction, it will be quite important for all stakeholders, that will be the parents, the schools as well, to be in a position to know how we are realigning so-called, based on what you informed us about being on the same calendar with other members of the West African Examination Council in the sub-region. How's that going?
Well, so far it's gone well. When it comes to BEC is purely a local examination. It's just within Ghana. The other member countries have their own examinations that they write because of the peculiarity of the curriculum that we run. But then for the West, I think that so far everything has gone on very well. We are collaborating very well with our partners, the other member countries of the council.
So will we meet the timeline where we're going to have intake or perhaps admissions into schools the last quarter of the year and then begin another thorough period or a term, or as we call it, a semester from the next year in January?
Sure, yes. We are going to be able to meet the deadlines that have been set so that schools can start in the last quarter of the year. It's possible. Yes, we are working towards that.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. John Kapi. Okay, sorry.
Kapi, if you can still hear us. We've gone through what you call irregularity detected during the conduct of the examination and, of course, during the marking of the script. What went into determining what could have possibly influenced an examination malpractice, which led to the results that you've given us? What went into that? How did you determine that?
Well, usually when the scripts, especially for those that we call collusion, those are detected in the course of marking. Now you realize that a lot of the time the candidates are writing exactly the same thing. And if I may take you into a little bit of, assessment, apart from questions that are on recall, when you have application questions, you and I would be looking at it from different angles, but we'll be arriving virtually at the same response if you want. So that it's not going to be word for word. If we are told to define a table, we'd all probably have a standard definition for a table. But when you are told to assess other aspects of the table, we'll look at them differently. Now, so you'll find out that there are scripts where the candidates have written the same thing. They are all having the same spelling errors. They are all having the same mispresentation of facts and that kind of thing. So that is what raises alarm. And so the examiners are told to note all those scripts and then let us have them and go through them again. Beyond that, there are times, unfortunately, after the students have copied from whatever they've sneaked into the examination with, they leave the sheet of paper in the answer booklet. So that also helps us to tell that something has happened. And from that, you can tell it's relates virtually to every single candidate within that particular examination hall. So then we pick up that information and we work on that, yeah.
And still on that, 229 schools have been flagged. What's going to happen to them?
Well, these are not, it's not as if it's the entire population of those schools. There are individual candidates from these schools that have one, issue or another. You may have about maybe 5 people who, out of the whole lot, who have probably done something untoward. And so those are the ones. But just that, of course, they are coming from all of these schools. So it is not about the entire populations, but individual candidates from those schools.
All right, we'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Mr. John Kapi. He's the head of public affairs at WAEC. Thank you for bringing us a bit more flesh to the statement issued earlier.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he said? You copy and you leave the paper inside.
Okay, so that one, I'm sure is an oversight. Yeah. Every day, the thief will go scot-free. One day, the master will catch up. So usually that's what happens. And so just an overview again, just to apprise you, or to tell you what the latest are. The West African Examination Council. Oh, sorry, my bad. Okay. The West African Examination Council is indicating that a total of some 620,000 plus candidates they sat for this year's examination. And then so far they've released the examinations that were sat through or conducted across 2,237 centers across Ghana. Now, this is where it gets quite interesting. So we have cancellation of subject results and this one for some 490 plus candidates. And then 105 candidates had the entire results cancelled. Entire one. So they're going to get free, unless maybe you take your lawyers or something. Because when you go to WAEC with your parents, nothing will happen.
Yes.
There has to be a great justification for WAEC to say that we're going to reverse this. But usually what the West African Examination Council does is to put together a committee for some of these problems to be looked at based on petitions from the various schools.
Yes.
And then they've withheld the subject results of 119 candidates. And by experience, what happens is that sometimes you may have a particular school, and sometimes it can happen to the whole batch of the school, where they have 2 subjects, maybe science and English, all withheld, and they have the others released as well. And so that also points to some of the responses that we got from him. And then we have 48 candidates also having their results withheld. Okay, so, but you know, the West African Examination Council is a human body. And so usually when the committee sits and they take a real look based on the petitions from the various schools, for most of the times, most or some of the results are released.
Yes.
Yes, at least for those who have the subject result withheld and the others released. Though you may have all of it released for you. But sometimes if the schools are said to have undertaken more practices,
or aided in the exams more
then sometimes they tell you, Charlie, go and rewrite. Go and rewrite, so go and rewrite. Charlie, sometimes it can be very traumatizing for the BEC students because, you know, they're very young. They're not like SHS students who seem to have some level of experience, haven't sat with the BEC already. Now, we have to take your views. We have a couple of them coming through. We'll go to our WhatsApp console. Very important for us to do so. Zilis Drain is watching us from the UK, and he says that, Charlie, when I wrote BEC, I was top-notch. Yeah, everybody who wrote BEC said he did well. Now you're... Now you are up in life. So Zilis Drain said he did very well. Please release your results. Let's see.
Let's see, yes.
Anyway, results don't really sometimes shape your life at the end of the day. So Sherry Giovanni, though, is an educationist. And so he's a teacher as well as an educationist. Also has a very important message for us. So it's also important we take his message. Sherry Giovanni, good morning to you, Samuel. Says the schools and candidates that have their results withheld should know that engaging in examination or practices can't take you anywhere. Whilst others are able to access their results, those little ones will be traumatized because they have issues with their result. Yeah, true. Congratulations to all those who are successful, especially my nephew, Harrison, a Form 1 student who tried the BEC and got aggregate 11. Right. It's against the law to do that, though, but we all do that. Well, Prince Henry Kofodia is standing for some position. Okay, that's it.
I think regional communications officer.
Yeah, for Eastern region.
Yes.
That's it. Let me also, same for Eastern region. Obanwa, a very good friend of mine who is standing, very astute, intelligent lady. Alfreda Nkwa Abuaje. And she is going for the Eastern Regional Treasurer of the MPP, Alfreda Nkwa Abuaje Obanwa. I wish you all the best in that examination.
And Prince Emmy, the message he sent in earlier was choosing your school after seeing your results is the best because you will know your strengths before choosing the school you want. Resetting is ongoing. And then this one from landlord Bolga D Line. He says, good morning, Mr. Roland, Beatrice and Bella. Says the decision of the C, as in the Supreme Court of Ghana, is hereby respected, but I strongly disagree that it would address the issue of monetization. The next primaries will prove me right. Aspirants will rather spend more like never before. If the highest bidder will win, they will win.
Yeah.
And perhaps the last one I'll read here, Mr. Simon Yenwa in the Upper West region says, good morning, Beatrice, Bella, Roland. Proponents of the delegate system are complaining about where to get money for voters. My question is, since when has monetization of elections in this country become constitutionalized? If widening the system to cover all eligible voters means reducing affordability for vote buying, why not? Aspirants who support monetization of our elections should prepare to acquire enough televisions and motorbikes for all voters. Vote buying is an affront to our democracy. And that's coming from...
I have a great friend of mine who is watching. He's also my classmate. So Isaac Crepody, good morning to you. He says that, Roland, you remember when we sat for the SSC? Yeah, I remember. It was cool, Charlie. Yeah, but like we all say, we all did well.
Which year was it? Aziz Dollar says he completed in 2005, SS.
Okay, so one more, Ekwe Abuatman says that as parents, it's quite unfortunate that the government, or then you put into bracket, the Ministry of Education decided not to ask the schools or the candidate to select their schools. Now the results are in. They are now going to struggle to select their schools. I think this one is better. So if you had 29,
you know,
select the school.
You choose. Yes.
Okay, and then also Theophilus MFA in Ablekuma. Wishing you all the best. It's your birthday. This one is also coming from a good friend of yours. Says Isaac. Okay, Theophilia MFA Ajawoda of Ablekuma right here in Accra. May God protect you throughout your life. Now we have to give you some breakfast in snacks.
Yes, indeed. Let me remind you that you can always pack up your day the Milky Way with a rich, smooth taste of peck milk shortcake. It is just pure delight. Find them in all grocery shops by you. And when we come back, we'll bring you the big issue with Beda Mundi, and myself and Roland will bring you sports and some more. Do stay with us.
time now for us to get into our big conversation on the show. Good morning to you. If you just tuned in, we're grateful that you joined us. We hope you have light where you are, by the way. We've spoken to the Director of Communications for the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, and he's explained that per the briefing they've received from GridCo, it indicates that power system failure was as a result of a lightning strike, which is why the lights went off at 3:11 a.m. the day before. And in most cases, power has been restored, but in some cases, they're still trying to fix the problem, and they'll get a full briefing as to exactly what happened beyond just knowing that it was as a result of a lightning strike. But of course, it was the national transmission system, which is why the power outage was widespread. So if you don't have light this morning, well, they say that they are working assiduously to ensure that power is restored. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Some of us had lights, didn't have lights. It came back on, and this morning went off again. So we're hoping they can fix it for us. But good morning to you as well. We're also live on DSTV channel 279. We're streaming live on Facebook at TV3 Ghana and also live on YouTube at TV3 Ghana. Good morning to all of you who are on there. And very shortly, I will be saying good morning to a specific number of people. Abraham. Abraham is not happy this morning. I think his lights are off. So he says that the energy minister and the deputy must be sacked. Some individuals at ECG GridCo must be dismissed immediately. Okay, and Inqua says majority of things that are free are not good. Okay, my lights came in yesterday around 4:30 p.m. and went out again this morning. That's Charles Mauli. And Jeremiah Ayin Loya says our lights went out again this morning. Ayin Loya is from Bolga, Tanga. Delegate system scrapped. Why are some people against this great news? That's Ablade Efia Kuma. And that takes us into our conversation for this morning, because the Supreme Court yesterday ruled on two very important matters. One, on political parties' delegate system, declaring it unconstitutional. And then secondly, there was also a ruling on the mandate of the OSP, indicating that the office of the OSP and its establishment was constitutional. The only thing that they are giving powers to with regards to the Attorney General is the fact that they can file a nolli prosequi when the OSP is prosecuting a matter that they don't necessarily agree with in terms of how it's being processed. So we'll get into all those conversations on here as well. Good morning to you, Solomon Ofori and Safianu Adam. Says most people have lights. The situation in Mampong is pathetic. Safianu Adam. Okay. Solomon says this judgment reinforces my position that constituents have a full right to elect their parliamentarians, not imposition by delegates and party headquarters. Money ni money. Good morning to you, and to Prince Nana Yao York. That's Roland's favorite person. He always mentions him along with Money ni money. But let me introduce my guest this morning so we can get into our conversation. Across the table from me is Ross Owusu, and Ross is here representing the NPP. He's a member of the National Communications team, also a private legal practitioner. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you
Bella.
doing?
I'm doing very well. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Do you want us to continue our argument, or we should leave it here?
No, that's fine.
Hamza says we should leave it. She says it's okay. I'm stretching the matter. You're also stretching the matter. But good to see you. Also next to him, we have Lom Nuku Ahilija. I almost said Ahilija again. Ahilija, he's a lawyer and a law lecturer as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you're well.
Yes, I'm fine.
Do you have lights?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay, so you are lucky.
Like, he's going on and off, so.
That's the thing.
Yes.
Well, they say it's as a result of a lightning strike, so.
Yes, I used to work in GridCo, so I know a lot about
Oh, you did?
power transmission
Oh,
and
I
the
see.
issues.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
Also in the studios with us is Hamza Suini. He's a private legal practitioner and a member of the NDC communications team. Good morning.
Good morning, Bella.
Good to see you.
Good to see
you. have lights?
Yes.
Oh, you're lucky.
Very lucky. But I know that there are many out there who are still struggling with the issue of outages. So we would like to appeal to the authorities, that be especially GridCo and the minister responsible for energy, to do all that they can to ensure that we have power restored to all parts of the country. It is very important. It is very important that is done.
Absolutely. So let's give you a little history before the ruling from the Supreme Court with regards to the delegate system being declared unconstitutional. Now, as far back as 26th of January 2026, we had three of our most distinguished elder statespersons launching a legal challenge at the Supreme Court, and they were seeking to dismantle the delegate-based electoral systems used by major political parties So they filed this lawsuit. In fact, these three individuals were cardiothoracic surgeon Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng. We all remember him also from that Galamsey report. He was the chairman of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. We also had medical practitioner Dr. Nyahot Tamaklo, also a founding member of the NPP, filing that lawsuit. And then former Minister of State Dr. Christine Amwakunuyama. They argued that the current method of selecting presidential and parliamentary candidates was unconstitutional and oligarchic. And so the plaintiffs contended that the NPP, the NDC, and the CPP had replaced broad-based democracy with a restricted electoral college system. And they expected that the Supreme Court will look at these matters and strike out the constitutionality of the delegates system. They said it severely disenfranchised hundreds of thousands of ordinary party members in good standing, effectively creating a privileged voting class. So yesterday, the Supreme Court, after sitting on this matter for a while, gave its judgment. In fact, it ruled by a 5-2 majority decision that all registered members in good standing of political parties must be allowed to vote in election of their party leaders and their candidates. And so thereby declaring that the delegate system that is currently being practiced is unconstitutional. Now, let's go back to the courts from yesterday. Some of these party stalwarts representing the NPP, the NDC, shared their thoughts and their opinions on this Supreme Court ruling. And they were a bit concerned about the cost implication of this ruling because the Supreme Court has given them a 1-year lacuna where they can now, fix their processes and ensure that they include this ruling into their election processes. But these party officials and executives are not too sure if this is a good decision or a bad decision. Take a look.
All members in good standing
should vote. Yeah. Who's going to pay for the cost?
Says it's necessary to promote the.
Who is going to pay for the cost of the elections?
They did admit that it's going to increase the financial burden.
So who's going to pay for the cost of the elections?
Obviously, the political parties.
The political parties? Well, let's wait and see.
NPP fund
ruling has been different. That would have been a great worry to me, because I know eventually it will destroy the democracy we are trying to build. Because what is happening now is known to everyone. If you have money, you buy your way. If you don't have the money, you'll get nowhere. So I'm happy that monocracy has been curtailed.
They gave them a year. And that's where I think we, all of us, should engage, and I think civil society should engage. What should be the systems that I really believe that we need to revisit the political parties law, because internal regulation of parties, that leaves it to just the constitution. It's not sufficient to guarantee us the things that we want from political parties.
Interesting thoughts on there, but the issue of monetization of our political parties, there's a CDD report that was released in 2022, and I'll just read bits and pieces of it. It said that the present cost of running for parliament in Ghana, as estimated by this study, is 4 million Ghana cedis, which is approximately $693,000. Now, 2 million of that sum is spent nurturing the constituency of interest and running for primaries, and the other 2 million is calculated to be expended during the general election campaign. But if you think that, this is it, you have to look at the history of it as well. And of course, we'll get into the presidency and how much that will cost as well. But over the last few years, this number has jumped, incredibly. Now, as of 2016, if you needed to run for parliament, you needed about $85,000 to be able to run your campaign and ensure that you got into office. That has increased, according to the CDD, by some 59% or so, and now it costs you about $600,000 if you want to get into parliament. Now, if you want to become president, then you need a lot more. In fact, according to the CDD, it will cost you about $100 million if you want to get into the presidency. And that's 575 million Ghana cedis. As at 2016 as well, if you wanted to get into the presidency, you needed just about, $500,000 or so to get into parliament, into the presidency. So these are the concerns, which is why they are asking for this matter to be addressed. Now we have the Supreme Court making this ruling. what does it really mean? And why are some party officials and executives saying that this may or may not inure to the benefits of political parties? Hamza, I'll start off with you.
Good morning to you once again. Good morning to my senior, Lom, and my brother, Raf, and of course, our cherished viewers out there. Bella, the feeling is quite mixed as far as the judgment from our apex court is concerned. And one can understand why it is so. But even before I go on to the substance of the decision, it is important for me to state that clearly, that this decision manifests clearly the independence we anticipated as far as our judiciary is concerned. This is a decision that no political party is attacking the bench for throwing out. Because if you decide to juxtapose that as against the OSP's ruling as well, clearly, there seems to be some satisfaction in terms of the independence that we were yearning for a year or two ago as far as our judicial architecture is concerned. So let me use this opportunity to more or less thank the Chief Justice and the justices of our courts for beginning to once again inject some measure of sanity and confidence as far as our judicial architecture is concerned. It is commendable, and I think that it is good that we continue to go on that trajectory. But in all honesty, as an individual, I have reservations as far as this decision is concerned. I can understand the desire of many of us, including the Supreme Court judges, in wanting to curtail the issue of monetization as far as our internal party elections are concerned. But the critical question that needs to be asked is whether indeed this ruling will achieve that purpose. I have my doubts.
Why?
First of all, my experience is that even when the NDC attempted it somewhere in 2015, it rather expanded the frontiers of expenditure for our candidates. Because hitherto, before the introduction in 2015, parliamentary candidates had to deal only with delegates and party executives. It was manageable. But when it was expanded, youth groups became a vital point of that engagement. Women groups. And my experience as far as the northern sector was concerned was that, look, a chunk of these youth groups, you go to them, they make demands. So if you have in excess of about 200 youth groups within one constituency, when you go, you necessarily must drop something. Either you must drop 4 or 5 motorbikes, pay 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 for fuel.
In order to become a parliamentary candidate?
Yes, not a member of parliament.
Parliamentary candidate.
Parliamentary candidate. And after being elected, you needed to go back to all these youth groups again in the general election to now get into parliament.
And give them something again.
Yes, and I think that it was one of the reasons why the NDC decided to apply brakes. Because you see, the objective is always to ensure that you curtail monetization. But mind you, no electoral reform in the manner that has been handed down by the Supreme Court will deal decisively with that issue. The only way to deal decisively with the issue of monetization is for politicians to take their job seriously by actually ensuring that the teeming youth out there are given meaningful jobs, like we have it in the Western world. And even those who are not employed, the system takes care of them in a form of social interventions that are verifiable and can be checked. But until that is done, no matter how good intention this outcome is, be rest assured that it expands the frontiers of monetization. It doesn't curtail it, from the experience that I have. And so it is important. Again, I am waiting to see the content of the decision. But I am, from where I sit, possibly in the future when the decision is fully out, I may amend my position on the matter. I hold a strong view that even the 1992 Constitution, in a way, as far as its principles are concerned, upholds the issue of delegate representation. And so political parties going to elect either flag bearers or parliamentary candidates at the back of delegate election is something that I don't find problematic. If you look at our MPs, the speaker is elected in a delegate form, in line with the 1992 Constitution. we all don't come together to elect a Speaker of Parliament or the first deputy and second deputy Speaker. The MPs we elect to go represent us in Parliament do so for us, just as political parties elect constituency and branch executives to represent them when it comes to decision-making at the national level. And these people constitute the delegate corps to elect even parliamentary candidates or party officers, in line with that spirit of the 1992 Constitution. So I do not think necessarily that what the political parties were doing contravened the 1992 Constitution. That point needs to be made. Because even the 1992 Constitution, in its spirit, blesses the idea of delegate representation. Indeed, as I speak with you, all democracies that have embraced the issue of election are given access to party people to elect. These were not decisions handed down by their superior courts. These were progressive march towards inclusive democracy in the long run. So if you go to the United Kingdom, for example, we still have cases of political parties who have not successfully opened up for all their members to vote. But the Labour Party has done that, I think after 2004. Conservative have embraced it by opening up for all members of, in good standard to vote. Commendable. But they didn't have to take decisions from our superior courts or their superior courts in London. So I feel like steps of this nature must be taken incrementally, largely because of our developmental trajectory and the need for the political parties themselves to transform with time.
But isn't that why the Supreme Court has given the political parties
1 year? Is too short. You see.
How is that too short?
1 year is too short. It's to be, look, we are looking at the political implications. We are looking at the economic implications of such a decision. And I dare say, and I'm sure the political parties themselves will come back to this point and tell you that 1 year is too short. Look, for those of us who are social democrats, members of the National Democratic Congress, this is commendable. Any opportunity to give people the right to decide who leads them at the party level is something we will not condemn. And I'm sure that is the reason why the National Democratic Congress, even regardless of its reservations, decided to rather go on the tangent of advocating for inclusivity, which is respected, which is commendable. But even in doing so, it is only proper that we acknowledge the challenges and ask ourselves as political players the critical questions of how to ensure that we deal decisively with the issue of monetization. But I can bet my last kobo that this will make the running of elections even more burdensome economically. But because we have the experience.
Who placed the burden on these, politicians? You place it on yourselves.
You see,
because in the past, you'd want to win the favor of your delegates at all cost. And so you'll give them something. Now they became wiser and realized, which is a problem as well, because they became wiser and realized that, well, these people, it looks as if they want to get into office, they want to give us something. So now we will make the demands and ensure that if they don't pay, they don't get in.
I agree with you if you say that we place the burden on ourselves. But I don't agree with the rationalization of sin by saying that we went to promise them we will do blah, like we give them the incentives. No. It is because of the consistent failure of our politics to actually meet the demands of the ordinary Ghanaian down there. That changed their perceptions.
But whose fault is it?
So that's why I told you that I agree with you when you say we are the cause of that burden. But when it comes to how we became the cause of that burden, it is not because we went to the people giving them handouts. No. It is because the people themselves, over the years, got disappointed in the nature of our politics. And they told themselves that, look, we vote for you people. We see you ride in V8, in beautiful cars. We see your lives transformed. Now, if you want me to vote for me, drop something.
But are we not speaking the same language? Because why are they also now making those demands? Because in the past, these politicians have given them money. So it's as if...
The source of the giving of the money is because the people demanded it. Are you getting the point? Because of our failure over the years. It is not as if politicians just got up and started doling out money. Take. Look, we have been delegates before. I look at your life, and I tell you that, look, I'm not ready. I voted for those in the past. Their lives were transformed. I'm still here. If you don't drop something, if I don't get whatever I need from you now, if you go in there, I'm not even going to get you.
Because you left them
and politicians, because they want the power. That's the point I made.
Well,
that no matter the reform we introduce. That's why I said that no matter the reforms handed down from the Supreme Court, if we politicians fail to ensure that we get meaningful jobs
for the teeming youth out there, for our women out there, this canker will continue. Because those demands will not stop now at the delegate level. It will expand even to the ordinary party member.
Would you be able to give money and incentives to every single member of the party?
They do it, not every single. That's why I told you about youth groups. So it is not as if you are coming to meet them and give everybody. Okay, before we vote for you, we have the experience. NDC, we did it. Okay, before we vote for you, we are a youth group of about 20 people or 30 people. We need Aboboya to be able to do our businesses. So drop one. You go to the next group. Imagine you have 30 youth groups in one constituency. They tell you they need 5 motorbikes. This one said that we just need a taxi to be working for us so that when a member has a problem, we can gather money down when one of us has a problem, because it's difficult to get access to you people. We can use the proceeds to take care of that member. It happened. Let no politician deceive you. It happens. And I'm saying that it is not the fault of our courts. It is not the fault of those who are making those demands. It is not necessarily the fault of those who are making those demands. But it is because our politics has failed them over the years. And so they are finding ways to make such demands from us, the political leaders. And that's why I'm saying that beyond this judgment, politicians must understand that if indeed we are committed to dealing with the issue of monetization, it is not just the handing down of judgments from the Supreme Court alone. We must ensure that those who are unemployed and put themselves into youth groups are meaningfully employed.
So the
and even
politicians
those
need
that
to
we
do their
cannot
job.
employ, yes,
Okay.
until we do our jobs, no matter how beautiful the reforms are, be rest assured that we'll be at.
Well, we hope
cost
that you
90.
start doing your jobs generally as politicians.
Yes,
Catherine
hopefully.
Michelle says, so get them jobs, or why not start by stopping the buying of V8? That's Catherine Michelle. And Frederick Aga says, I agree with the judgments because they must work and understand as the grassroots. Delegates only care for themselves and not the grassroots. All eyes on us. Frederick Aga. And okay, let me read one more. Okay, Obrimpong Kaba says that please tell Hamza that if he thinks this ruling is rather going to make them spend more, then we're also ready to collect with all our hearts. If people demand, just stay away from the election. It is not by force to contest. But I mean,
politicians will not stay away. That I can assure you.
So that means that we'll never really that's
the sincerity that must characterize our politics. I will benefit from it because I don't have money to do expensive. But I may go and the person with the deeper pockets and can pay widely will still have his way.
Catherine says, please be real. For decades, we decried the giving of incentives for votes. So why all this whining at this point? Well, Ross, where do you also stand on this?
Well, I think the thinking of the Supreme Court in arriving at this decision, in part, was to take away the monetization aspect of our delegate system, where delegates are induced, with monetary incentives to vote for some particular candidates. But as to whether this decision will really change the narrative is another thing. I feel that what this decision has done, and before that, let me mention that I do not have the benefit, and all of us do not have the benefit of the full judgment. So we will err on the side of caution. We would have to be careful when we are making certain pronouncements until we are able to read the full judgment. But on the face of it, from what we saw yesterday, I think what the Supreme Court has done has, by implication, taken those persons who are very knowledgeable and capable of holding public office, whether being the presidency or going to parliament. I think what they have done is that they've taken them out. If you don't have money, if you don't have deep pockets, you cannot run for campaign in this country. Because whether you like it or not, running political campaign in this country is very, very expensive. And with the current arrangement where we have a select few, the delegate system, running it is not even easy. So now if you have to go to the very, base of all political party members in good standing to campaign to secure their votes, then it's a major source of worry. If you have been involved in political campaigning before, you would realize that a lot goes in. Sometimes a candidate needs to assemble potential voters to sell his message to them. And when they come, you cannot just leave them to go. Sometimes you have to arrange transportation, give them water and all that. So it is not going to be really easy for persons that desire to occupy political office in this country. But I see a positive aspect of this judgment that has come out. Why do I say so? It means that political parties internally can streamline and arrange their affairs in such a way that if you are not a member in good standing, and of course the Supreme Court mentions that before you can even vote in this system, you must be a member in good standing. So it will give the opportunity to political parties to, look at their dues payment, for example, because for you to be a member of good standing in a political party, of course, you must pay dues. And this is one area the political parties can capitalize on to raise a lot of funds, you understand.
But Mr. Richard Hiagba from your party says that you can't force them. What if they don't pay the dues? What do you do? Because
but if you don't pay, if you don't pay the dues, you are not a member in good standing. And it means that per this ruling, you cannot be somebody who can vote in such elections. You understand? And my problem again with this ruling is that it seems to have concentrated on the parliamentary candidates and those who will be aspiring for presidential candidates. What about the internal party, the executive elections, like national chairman position, regional executives, constituency executives? The Supreme Court was silent on that. You understand? And I think
we haven't read it.
We
so
have
we
not.
won't
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
We won't know.
That we won't know for now. But I hope that by the time the full judgment is out, we should be able to know whether these party executives are also part. Personally, and in my thinking, I think this should have certain flaws that the Supreme Court ought not to have entertained, because political party, we will agree, is a form of an association, right? And Article 21, is it 1E of the Constitution, freedom of association, enjoins every Ghanaian who desires to join some form of association, whether trade unions, political associations, to freely do so. To the extent that political party members have not complained and have not brought any class action before the Supreme Court to actually complain that they don't like the delegate system that is currently at play. I find it very strange and difficult that the Supreme Court actually entertained this
When you say they've not complained, what exactly do you mean by that?
Because
the people who sent this lawsuit to the Supreme Court are party members.
They are not. Did they go in their capacity as party members?
But is it not public knowledge that they belong to one party or the other?
No, but before the Supreme Court, you must exhibit your locus. Even though I agree under Article 2.1, under Article 2.1 they can do that. But you see, the point I am making is that in an association, when members of the association do not have a problem with a certain arrangement, internal arrangement, what then warrants this particular suit to be brought before the Supreme Court?
That's because political appreciation of the role of political parties in our country and its designation even under the 1992 Constitution. So be careful.
Even beyond that, there's a whole CDD report on how we have monetized our election system in the parties.
And we have agreed on this table.
You don't have to belong to a party to complain about it before, even if that's the case.
No, I'm looking at it.
Has decried this problem within his own party, the NPP.
I am looking at it from the point of view of freedom of association. So if I am going to join a certain association and I know that these are the rules of engagement of that association, it is up to me to either join or to leave. You understand? So, but I think this is a conversation we can broadly talk about when we have the full benefit of the judgment. I think that is my opinion on that.
I see. You want to come in on this?
Yeah, so I think I'll start off where Ross was. When it comes to political parties, they are a special type of association. I would say that because even though, as Ross said, the 1992 Constitution, Article 21 says that there's freedom of association, which means that we can join any association that we want. The Constitution also provides specifically for political parties as an association or group of people who have come together for a political purpose. And so as we know, in constitutional interpretation, the court is balancing various elements of the Constitution. They'll be looking at various provisions and read them together to make sense of it. So in that respect, political parties are a special species of an association. That's one. Now, secondly, and I think Hamza also made this point, delegate elections are also constitutional. In fact, they are also democratic. So it is right, as he said. However, from what I see so far from the way the judgment, at least the highlights we have from the reports that you media people have given us, is that the Supreme Court essentially has made a policy decision. In other words, delegate elections are democratic because, first of all, every delegate is executive of a polling station who was elected by members of that polling station. And then that delegate, for example, will also vote for, say, members of parliament and presidential. But what they have said is that it will be better if there's more inclusivity. In other words, they have chosen that even though delegate system is democratic, we want the one that's more democratic. Because if we have 9 people from a branch being executives voting for, let's say, parliamentary candidates, we'll rather 50 people vote for the parliamentary candidate. So it's not that delegate system is unconstitutional. In fact, and Hamza alluded to this, when we elect our members of parliament, 276, they're actually like delegates because we all can't go to parliament. So they are representing us to advance our views. So it is because the way in which the Supreme Court looked at the various elements of the suit and the various provisions implicated, it has chosen, as I say, a policy option which enhances more inclusivity. But one of the other things that we need to take account of right from the outset is that the suit that was brought by these 3 eminent politicians, we know that some of the defendants supported their position. So, for instance, the National Democratic Congress did not oppose the suit. In fact, the National Democratic Congress also supported the suit. The Attorney General, who is the nominal defendant in every constitutional case, also supported the suit. I believe the MPP and CPP perhaps opposed it, yes. So what it means is that you have a suit where on the defendant side, at least 2 of them supported the plaintiff side. So I guess we will obviously wait for the judgment, which we know will come by the 5th of August. We'll see the details. But when I look at it on the face of it, it appears the Supreme Court chose the option which is more inclusive. Not that the other one is totally undemocratic or totally unconstitutional. So we'll see the details. But we've talked about, so now let's go into the practical implications because we've asked that question. As I said, 9 people voting for somebody or 50 people voting for the same person. Which one is more representative? It's the 50 people. So what essentially this judgment does is that it deepens the democracy. It brings more people to the conversation. Obviously, then the cost implications come in. Unlike where you buy TV for every delegate, you can't buy TV for all of this. But still, money must reach them in a way, one way or the other. I don't mean necessarily giving them cash, but you have to reach them. For example, your social media campaign will become more expensive.
Yes.
Your billboard, billboards will have to be more. Your meeting of the groups, the youth groups and market women, drivers and so on will be more, which means that more resources is likely to be expended to reach the thousands of people that are now going to vote regardless of before. So in most constituencies, you have maybe, let's say, 1,000 delegates. Now you have to consider 20,000 registered members. You are not going to give 20,000 people TV sets. You can't even, or maybe it's possible for some to raise the money.
That's what they're saying. That it will make it more expensive because if I was giving 1,000 people, now I have to come up with 20,000 TV sets and eggs and bicycles. And if I don't win, I'll go back for my bicycle, which happened in one of the instances.
True, but I think that if we look beyond Ghana, because this is not novel, other countries have it. Many, many countries have it. In fact, some countries is so advanced or severe that, for example, Trump's first term, Trump winning the nomination for the Republicans the first time. You know, he was not even a member of the party till a few weeks when he filed his nomination. Because they are so open that you can even join the party today and run tomorrow. We have rules about how long you should be in and all of that. So what the Supreme Court has done by giving the 1 year is allowing the parties to see how they can take the judgment and then modify their respective constitutions to add that. And Ross made this point, members in good standing. That means that, for example, political parties will have to consider the kind of dues arrangement. perhaps what they are charging is it adequate, is not adequate. Should we increase it, should we not increase it? But what it means is that by the time the register is set to be used for the election, you must be paid up. Typically, that's what we use for good standing. But good standing is not limited to finances. We could also open it to other things, maybe how active the people are, things they should have done, and so on. But generally, most associations, when they say good standing, they mean, have you paid your dues?
Oh, okay.
Most associations, that's what they use. But you can do more than that. So if the judgment is clear after we read it, then what it means is that political parties have to adapt to the judgment. And that, as I said, will deepen democracy. What it also means is that it takes away, let's say, delegate capture. Because you see, most delegates from the political parties, they are professional politicians. There are some people who have been branch chairman for like 20 years.
Yeah.
All their lives, literally adult life. So what it means is that they know the politics inside out. And we've had many instances where, for example, and both NDC, MPP, and all the other parties know this, where delegates have elected the candidates. Like somebody was not happy, went independent, and actually won. That's because the delegates and their decisions may be quite different from the wider party and all of that. So, for me, this news is welcome news for me, because as far as I'm concerned, it allows for a wider pool of people to make a decision as far as who represents them, either at a constituency level, branch level, and parliamentary level, or also presidential level. And so we wait to see the details of the judgment, but as far as I'm concerned,
it's a welcome decision.
Absolutely.
But do you think it cancels out the potential of doling out cash and all that? Do you think it will address the issue and stop it, or it will worsen it? Just briefly on that.
In terms of individuals receiving monetary gifts and benefits, I think it will reduce. But overall, it's possible that the expense of running a campaign may be higher.
Maybe higher.
Because you have to reach more people.
All right. Well, Rafiq Abdullahi says, please tell Hamza Suini that, but for the expansion of the delegate system by the NDC in 2015, his other brother wouldn't be in parliament, and he knows it. The likes of Sam George, Ras Mubarak, and many others wouldn't have the opportunity to serve. The ruling by the SC gives ordinary party members a voice instead of just a small group of delegates. That's Bismarck Mensah. And Amuzu Walanyos, Hamza Suini, please stop the deception. Was financial issue the reason given to the Board Trade Committee? NDC MP said the registered album was full of MPP members. That was the reason why they pulled the brakes on the expanded delegate system. Do you want to respond to that quickly? I want to go on Zoom.
No, it is important for me to state that. You see, sometimes, and many of us are not moved by that, it is about politics of convictions and principle. I think that on this table, I have not said that the decision to expand it is bad. I have not said that.
Okay.
I'm saying that it should be a policy decision that the parties themselves should be encouraged to do. In principle, no true Democrat, and that's the reason why the National Democratic Congress did not oppose, unlike the MPP, did not oppose that desire to expand the frontiers. And everybody would love it.
Okay.
Provided that it actually brings monetization down. And I am having my reservations as to whether it will bring monetization down or not. And who says that when the likes of Ras Mubarak and my own brother contested, it didn't increase the financial burden? And it is because of that experience that I'm worried. Because most of them spend more than they should have spent. That's the gospel truth.
In trying to reach the people or in giving them incentives to vote for them?
Not really. See, you brand it as incentives. For example, if you go to the northern region, our culture is simple. Even before you knock on their door, you pour cola. It's part, you see, culture is part of democracy. So if you would have to knock on thousands of doors now and pour that cola, that is an expense. Now, it empowers youth groups to also even be able to make demands even before the national election, because they will play a critical role. And that's why I gave you the example. I need a tricycle. I need a car. We are a group of 20. We don't need money from you. All we need is just give us a tricycle. When someone has a problem, the tricycle will be working for the group. Then it takes care of them. That is an expense that the parliamentary candidate wouldn't have endured.
Okay.
But for the expansion, and I'm not saying it's not. That's why I said that, look, you can't blame the courts and you can't blame the people for wanting access to vote. But the blame should be on we, the politicians, because if we had given them so good jobs,
and you even go and meet them as youth groups, those demands will not be made on you. Because in any case, they are employed, they are making their money, and they are comfortable. They will listen to your ideas.
All right.
Only ideas.
Only ideas. That's all.
Hick Isaac says, I'll let you come in, don't worry. Hick Isaac says, who do the political parties describe as a member with good standing? Well, I think you heard Lom try to sort of explain that, but he says that that's the trick they are going to use to deny a lot of members their voting rights. Bismarck Amankwa says, I support this verdict to enhance our democracy from Nkrumah New Papasi. Ross, hold on. Let me just go on to Zoom at this point. Musa Dankwa joins us, and we would like to pick his thoughts on this as well. Hello, Musa Dankwa.
Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yourselves?
Very well, thank you. I mean, you've conducted studies with regards to elections in this country, monetization, etc. Where do you position this ruling by the Supreme Court? Do you think that to a large extent it will address the canker that we face as a nation?
Right, thank you very much for having me on this show this morning. I think the Supreme Court was trying to enhance democracy. And in enhancing democracy, there are costs and benefits of doing so. The problem they've tried to address is where delegate system, group of individuals hijack the country, frankly, and give us people to vote on that the masses may not even want. So they try to expand that to allow people to have a say in who represent us in parliament and also as president. If you have a system where few people can be bought, then you stand a risk of getting a president who could be elected by gangs of people who may have been influenced by money. And those who are the genuine people's choice will not be given a chance to lead this country. So that was the attempt the court tried to make. Now, nobody is saying the delegate system is illegal or is unconstitutional. No. What they've done is to expand the definition of delegate to include card-bearing members in good standing. They're also delegates. But the card-bearing members are representing NDC voters across the country. So they are also delegates. But these are not expanded delegates per the definition of the Supreme Court, which is good. Ordinarily, elsewhere, this has been done by the political class themselves because they reasonably and sincerely want to do things better, but not our people in this country. Sweeney mentioned UK, where the Labour Party and the Conservatives have made attempts, or they've improved that on their own without invoking or the court coming to intervene. If we leave this in this country, none of them will make this move. When NDC tried it last 2015 and they saw some problem, instead of addressing the problem, they cancel it. They always want a quick way and easy way. And the quick and easy way has become a pool for people to entrench themselves with power. Look, chairman of parties hijack albums. He decides who goes into the album. That is not democratic, is it? Luckily, NDC this time around decided to do it online. So nobody can hijack online forms. So that addresses the problem. So if you see the problem, try and find a solution to the problem. Rather than hitting your head in the sand and saying, oh, we can't do anything about it. This is a first step by the Supreme Court. What should we do? We cannot continue to run campaigns as we have done in the past in the middle of this proposal. But that would be too expensive. What reforms can we put in place to ensure that the object of the Supreme Court ruling is realized? That is, lower the use of money in our politics. We have to have means by which we can deliver this ruling reasonably cheaply, rather than more expensively. How were we doing our campaign in the past? Face to face. It means that this is no longer possible. You can't meet 20,000 people face to face. And they've always been mentioning, oh, you have to meet them. Meet them for what? When you meet them, it is messaging you want to meet them to tell them. There are so many means by which you can now deliver your messages. Not by face to face. Face to face increase corruption, increase people's demand on you. I'm meeting them one-on-one. They will demand everything. So we all collectively agree that, look, let's change the way we campaign. Let's change the way we listen to people for this kind of rules to work. I think we can find a middle ground for which we can do this.
But if you say we should reduce the face-to-face, at this point, maybe we can, rely on the electronic aspects. But you and I know that not everybody in this country has access to internet. And so in those remote areas, how will these politicians sell their message to these individuals?
Bella, you can still organize a big event, a big one, of 1,000, 2,000 people in the constituency. Instead of a meeting of 10 people in this electoral area, 10 here and 10 there and 10 there.
But the big events,
you can consolidate.
Some will say they need transport. Some will say you need to bus them, you need to give them food, lunch for coming to the event, all of that. How do we stem that?
It is a public event. The willing and the able will come. Those who are not willing and able to stay at home, they can watch on television.
And you think that if they go by this route, they would, that will stem the issue of corruption, for example, in our elections. Beyond this,
you see, the corruption side is more prevalent when people who are, individuals are then the beneficiaries of this hang-go, hang-come thing. But it becomes a general public issue. Then you've taken away the power of a small group of people to determine who leads the constituency or who leads the country. I think that is the import of this ruling. We don't want to have this decision being taken by a small group of people rather than a larger group of people. So if you organize an event and they don't come, that is fine. The media is there, the TVs are there, radios are there. Look, poll shows that over 90% of Ghanaian voters today is either on social media, TikTok, Facebook, WhatsApp channels, everywhere. Those who are not connected are not many. So we can't use the exception as the norm. The times have changed. In the Kwame Nkrumah's time, he was doing house to house, face to face. And today we are also doing the same thing. We should modernize. We should find a better way of engaging and reducing the personal contact that demands you to give money to people you meet all the time.
Okay. Musa, there seems to be a debate on the table as to that figure you put out. You're saying that per the research that Global Info Analytics has done, is that what you're attributing to? That 90% or about 90% of voters are either on social media or have access to TV and radio. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Look, when did you, can you give us some details on this? When was this poll conducted? Yes.
Let me expand it.
Okay.
Even those who are using YAM phone, are you aware that there is FM on YAM phones? Are you aware?
Yes.
Yes. And look, we have sampled this question over and over and over again among Ghanaians for the past 2 years. We asked them, which of the social media handles do you use? Only 10% or less are saying they don't use any of social media handles. Only 10% of voters are saying that.
How many people did you sample, please?
Oh, we sampled roughly 7,500 people every 3 months.
Okay.
Every 3 months. 7,500. So over the years, we have this data. It's not speculative.
Yeah.
You see, people think that social media is just on people who use phones. Look, most people have phones. Even the YAM phone, as I told you, has FM and radio stations on them.
I see. Okay. Don't go yet, Musa. Please stay on. I would want to bring them in so they can respond to this. But quickly as well, Teddy Bagay says the two big political parties should embrace the ruling in good faith. We want competent people in our politics, not only rich people. Okay, we need to build our campaign system to reduce the corruption and allow good leaders to represent the people rather than money that influences them. Okay, that is Newday. Ni atukwe kwe. All right. Let me just read one or two and then I can come to you, Ross. Good morning. J.O. Kwasin says, I'm watching from Japan. Bella, the reality is that it will never change. Money is the order of the day. That's why politicians come to power, to recoup what they have lost. And that's what the Supreme Court hopefully is attempting to curtail in this matter. James Akurubila says that one risk of this open vote is that MPP members may vote in NDC internal elections to choose a wrong candidate for them and vice versa. Ross, you are going to make this point?
That was the point I was going to make. We live in a political space where we really don't have control over the people we register as our members, you understand? So you have one person owning an MPP party card and another person owning an NDC party card, especially for these contractors. Yeah, I'm telling you, there are businessmen in this country who have 2 political party cards and they have 2 political affiliations. So when MPP is in power, they are doing business with MPP because they identify with them. When NDC is in power, they identify with NDC because they contribute to NDC, they finance them, and they hold their party card.
But why are the parties allowing this?
But how do you have any mechanism to determine who is a member of NDC and who is not a member of the NDC?
But yeah, it should be possible. It should be possible for you to know.
Another thing is that I feel that there should be a bold attempt to criminalize vote buying in this country. If indeed we want to do away with the monetization aspect of our internal party elections, and in fact, to some extent, the national elections, we must criminalize vote buying in this country. Until we do that, I think we will just be playing to the gallery and nothing really will happen.
So Bella, let me come here. I think what Musa Dankwa said about the reaching the people, it's true. They watch TV, they have radio and so on. But for political campaigns, you have to reach them directly. Of course, it doesn't mean that you don't do that. But if you meet somebody in person, it's always better. Bella, if I just pick the phone and call you out of the blue, you didn't know who was behind at the other end of the line. It will be a very different conversation from when you've met me and I call you later, for example. So there's no substitute for a politician meeting people one-on-one. I guess the concern, obviously, is the money part. And Ross has talked about it. And I'm sure we all agree. Vote buying should not be acceptable. Of course, we have some element of it, but we can always make it more stringent and more secure. Because we don't want to see things where candidates have to give TV, fridges. I mean, all kinds of inducements. Those things undermines the democracy.
In recent times,
it's crazy. Motorbikes and all of that. So for me, it's about how do the parties work this out? And I like the question you asked about how, or to Ross, because you see, it may mean, for example, that the political parties have to work together. In the and Musa also makes this point. If you have your register, right, and because he talked about the fact that 2015, when the NDC had a challenge, they stopped. Yes, so we work out the solution. In other words, you find ways. If you publish your list, like GBA, we are members of GBA. GBA publishes all members in good standing in the Daily Graphic. If NDC publishes theirs, MPP publishes their CPP, we can know if there are people who are on the two. And if you are eligible to be a registered party member, you must also be eligible to be a national voter for EC. So there are ways in which the parties may have to collaborate, maybe even under IPAC or under EC supervision, to make sure that there's nobody who is on MPP register, who is on NDC register. If you do, you find ways of taking them.
Is it wrong to join both NPP and NDC?
No, but for purpose of your voting, you can say that somebody is going to vote in your election.
Being on the register necessarily does not mean
that's what I'm saying. That
you cannot join.
That's what I'm saying. That it is freedom of association. So you can join all the parties. But a party can say that if you are going to vote, you must be somebody who is on only our register.
To just one.
And those are the things that when we read the judgment, we'll figure out how to do it for all the parties. Because you have to adapt the judgment to fit within your constitution.
Now, the other angle or the other leg of this conversation is the fact that, you know, per the Political Parties Act 2000, political parties are supposed to, at the end of elections, within 6 months, file with the Electoral Commission a return in the form specified in terms of how much money they received, where they got it from, all of that. Now, per what we know, we're told that about 90% of political parties do not even adhere to this rule. So for us to even know where the monies are coming from.
That brings me back to the hesitation and the restraint I am placing on myself in terms of celebrating this victory from the courts. Because even the existing laws, we have not been able to hold ourselves to those laws. That ensures accountability and true representation.
We should be able to.
We should be able to. And you see, for me, like I said, it would have been unconscionable for the National Democratic Congress to go and oppose the application like the MPP did.
But your members of parliament are opposing it.
No. But even here, I've raised concerns. Listen to me, please. You see, in principle, no true Democrat will appear in court and argue that an application that seeks to give people the right to vote in a political party must be halted. No true Democrat will do that. I'm just saying that I'm asking critical questions, whether even
after the passage that, look, they should be allowed to vote, whether it will resolve the issue of monetization. That is a different discussion I'm introducing into our discussion today. And I'm telling you that from experience, I don't think that it does. And that is why the introduction should be incremental. You have raised two fundamental concerns, which I find a bit problematic. One, the issue of local standing. And thankfully, Senior Lom did an excellent job on that. Political parties are public entities, special in character. A litany of cases has established that already. And so, if a citizen of Ghana, in the person of the revered Dr. Nyahonya Wotamaklo and his colleagues, they decide that, look, we are going to court to challenge the democratization processes in our political parties and say that it is not in line with our 1992 constitution. They are clothed with the legal authority under article, under the 1992 constitution to question same, under Article 2. And that is what they have done. And so they have the local stand. They didn't need to be members of any of the political parties. The fact that they are citizens of Ghana qualifies them. And you have also raised the issue of how do we know who belongs to the NDC and MPP? How is that a problem for the courts? It is not. We are political parties arguing that we are transforming and we are modernizing our processes. It should be possible for us to engage with the Electoral Commission to identify those who are going to be on our list as NDC persons and that of the MPP as NPP persons. These are things that can easily be done, especially in the age of IT. We can cross-check. That political party collaboration with the EC as the umpire is crucial in establishing who is a member of a political party or not. And if you go to the UK, for example, indeed they have a second list who are categorized as sympathizers. So when you take the Labour Party or Conservative Party, apart from the hardcore party members, you have the second list who are sympathizers. And you can have sympathizers across because their sympathies can change. They don't need to be members in good standing. But even those sympathizers in the UK are allowed to vote in the internal party elections. And so I don't think that is a problem. My concern is that if you look at the trajectory of our development and the stage of our development, I do not think that even just expanding and giving everybody the right to vote will resolve the problem of monetization.
But that's what Musa
Because the critical question is, how do we get the people employed? That is the most important thing.
But that's what Musa Dankwa is saying, that the political parties are not willing to be party to this, which is why
they are not willing to be party to what?
In terms of fixing this problem of monetization.
Hold on. That he was being inaccurate. If the NDC was not willing, the NDC wouldn't have introduced it. And remind you, even after introduction in 2015, and when we went back, we said that we are reviewing the process to reintroduce it again. It was not Musa Dankwa and his likes who compelled the NDC to introduce it. We thought ahead of him.
But when you face that challenge,
we came back and we are trying to find it. That is why the NDC, in principle, in this court case, did not oppose it.
But beyond that,
you cannot tell the ingenuity of the NDC. For all you know, the NDC thought that this is one even way quick fix as far as the challenges we encountered are concerned. Now I can understand the frustrations of the MPP. They are in opposition. No, they are legitimate and they are genuine, rough. This is not political in nature. Maybe they are in opposition. And they are thinking that, look, it is going to be difficult to get the needed resources to allow all our party members to vote. If the NDC finds itself in opposition tomorrow, maybe that fear will resurface even in the politics of the MPP, NDC too. But that places the burden on us to actually ensure that our members are able to be in good standing by paying their dues regularly. That is not a failure of the Supreme Court.
So beyond
that, to do that,
beyond that, in addressing the issue of monetization again, which is why I'm bringing in this Political Parties Act 2000, I was hoping that you were going to address that Act 574 that says that when you come into power as a political party, within 6 months, you need to file with the Electoral Commission details as to how you got the money to fund your elections, who exactly funded all that. Now, Mr. Srib Wakwaku at the time had said that political parties, but about 90% of them did not even participate in this.
I'm not surprised.
Do you get it? So that's the problem. And that brings in what Musa Dankwa is saying, that even beyond agreeing to what the Supreme Court is saying, that yes, we need to ensure that we expand the delegates list, the parties themselves don't look like they're even interested in wanting to fix this because they benefit.
But Bella, that's why I'm saying that on that point, the political parties should be able to, and they must be made to do so. Why? every year, if you have a company, every year you're required to file annual returns. When you don't file annual returns for a time, anytime you go or attempt to do so, there are penalties, there are consequences. It's the same. Why can't a political party file its annual returns? Why can't it file its accounts? Why can't it file it? It should be able to.
Yeah.
And it's about cracking the whip. Maybe you're talking about what will happen if they don't. They should be able to. Yes, because that's what the law requires.
Let me read. Okay.
Another thing is that the very institution that is supposed to ensure the enforcement of these modalities are the very ones complaining. Is it not the Electoral Commission?
Yes.
Exactly. That is supposed to
Why
ensure.
is easy complaining?
Let me explain why. Let me read. This is a CDD report. This is a CDD report 2022. It says that evidence suggests that the Commission does not follow up on the submitted audited statements and accounts by the political parties to verify the audited statement. And the reason is that it does not have the institutional capacity to examine and conduct an independent audit on financial statements and audited accounts.
It is not a good reason. Even the EC, after receiving some accounts from the political parties, can even write to controller and accountant to support it.
Exactly. Yes.
State institutions can collaborate. You can go to Auditor General.
Sorry.
You can go to Auditor General. You can write to them and say, we have this documents that we received so far. Can you assist us to analyze it? They will be more than willing to do so.
Do that.
EC should just do his job. I don't see why, for any reason, a political party cannot file the returns that are required by the Representation of the People's Act.
They say they don't
absolutely
have,
no reason.
They say they don't have the, let me read, the Commission has failed to exercise political will to sanction parties that fail to meet their statutory obligations because the thinking is that by applying sanctions such as revoking the registration of a political party, it could jeopardize Ghana's democratic process, especially the registration of one of the two dominant parties, NPP or NDC, is revoked. So they gave an example imagine NDC is in power now. First 6 months in office, they did not file their reports. That means that the law says they have to be, their license has to be revoked. How do you move forward in an election
Bella,
with something like this?
There are many things that regulatory authorities do. I'm sure you recall even, let's say fairly recently, NCA did something like that, where you are licensed to run a radio or TV station. You are required to renew by some time. Some don't do. What do? They write to all of you. They give you time. Like, there's absolutely no reason to go straight to the extreme. You can even you can write to the parties, give them time, ask them to comply and so on. When you give them adequate time, even just by being magnanimous, and you don't get the result, why don't you revoke it? GTEC revokes accreditation all the time.
Absolutely.
If they are failing to exercise their legally mandated obligation,
you ban them from contesting in a general election.
If one day they say they have revoked MPP,
it's not about whether
you don't need agreement
about the law.
In fact, if the EC complies with the law, right, as
has been stated, yes.
And any of the parties go to a Supreme Court, even, what is the Supreme Court going to do? Supreme Court goes to law. Did you comply with this requirement? Does the law have a consequence for non-compliance? Did the EC follow the compliance? They should revoke it. I'm saying that no political party in this
parliamentary
country
candidates from contesting elections because they don't meet the criteria.
Absolutely.
So the political parties at the back of
the Supreme Court
should be able to.
What happened in the Jachikation case? It is a matter of law. The EC should do its work. And I'm saying that there's no reason why any political party in Ghana, including the biggest political parties in Ghana, should not comply with this law.
Okay, I've received something that looks like the available audited accounts of political parties from 2020 to 2024. I will check with my producers if the details here are right before I put it out. So I see that you're texting me. I'll check with that. But Musa, let me bring you in on this one quickly, because then this same report is saying that if that's the case, we should bring the Auditor General in, because naturally per their mandate, they have to audit accounts of public and statutory institutions. But then political parties are not statutory institutions or public institutions. So there needs to be the amendment of the law to include political parties so that the Auditor General can now be the one to audit these things and ensure that they also file their annual returns, etc. Do you agree to that?
I do agree. I mean, this ruling would actually call for so many reforms. There are certain LIs, CIs that may have to be amended because of this ruling. I think we will sit down as a country with all the stakeholders to see which laws need to be amended based on the way forward that the stakeholders may agree that we should go. It is very important that an institution that brings us the president should not be allowed to do things on their own. Even if they are saying they are private institutions, they are not private institutions. They are giving us people who become president. So even that act law needs to be looked at. Are they private institutions or public institutions? We need to look at that again. And then that would then make it easier for the general to go in there and audit them. We need to make sure that happens.
Okay.
I mean, they have failed to prepare accounts for decades. I mean, nobody has said anything. In other countries, some big parties have been banned from elections. I don't think NDC and MPP are too big to be, to be banned if they are abusing the law.
All right. Well, let me just read a few. Prince Nana Yaoyok, if the Auditor General comes in there, jail is for 1,000 people. No more corrupt money in funding political parties. If the Auditor General comes, okay, that's what Prince said. Akosi Amenu, good morning to you. She's reiterating a point made by Hamza. She says that he's saying we haven't met the demands of providing jobs. So, Akosia, what are you referencing with regards to this as well? But I want us to quickly move into our second topic for today before we wrap up. And the same Supreme Court, of course, we had a panel of 7 Supreme Court judges. They sat on a matter concerning the OSP, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, as well. And, you know, there was a challenge that was dismissed with regards to the OSP powers. Let me read that to you. So it says that the Supreme Court has unanimously upheld the constitutionality of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, Act 2017, Act 959, but ruled that the Attorney General retains the constitutional authority to discontinue prosecutions initiated by the OSP. The decision settles a constitutional challenge brought by private legal practitioner Noah Adamte, who questioned whether the prosecutorial powers granted to the OSP under Act 959 were consistent with Ghana's 1992 constitution. So he argues that Parliament exceeded its powers by establishing the OSP with independent prosecutorial authority. According to his suit, Article 88 of the Constitution vests prosecutorial powers solely in the Attorney General, making it unconstitutional for Parliament to create another body with similar powers through the ordinary legislation. And the Attorney General supported the challenge, maintaining that although prosecutorial powers may be delegated, such delegation must remain under the Attorney General's supervision and cannot be permanently vested in an independent institution. But the Supreme Court ruled on this matter and says, well, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the setting up of that office was constitutional at all means. They have the right to go ahead and prosecute matters or cases that relate to corruption and corruption-related cases as well. But what the Attorney General can do at this point is, if they realize that the prosecuting process does not go in the way they expect, they have the mandate to now file a nolle prosequi. That, Hamza, I'll start off with you.
Okay.
Again. What are your thoughts on this as well?
I think that, well, you can understand the judgment better if you know the historical evolution of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And I have always argued that what brought us here in the first place has to do with the deception that characterized the birth of that particular office. Because I remember somewhere in 2016, general election, promises were made to the effect that they were going to create an independent special prosecutor who would be independent from the office of the the Attorney General. The Attorney General would not be able to control the work of that said special prosecutor. And when the bill was presented subsequently in Parliament in 2017, 2018, I remember quite clearly the then minority leader, now minister responsible for education, stood on his feet and raised issues in relation to the powers of the OSP and how truly that power would not be independent unless Article 88 also of the 1992 Constitution is truly amended to limit the powers of the Attorney General.
Yeah.
Nobody paid attention to it. Subsequently, the now minister responsible for Attorney General, Minister for Justice, also presented a detailed position paper on the subject matter before the floor of Parliament and raised the issue of true independence as far as that outfit was concerned. He was never listened to. Today, no matter how you evaluate the judgment coming from the Supreme Court, one thing is certain, that indeed that office is not truly independent as we were promised that it would be. Because the Supreme Court still acknowledges Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution. And though I have not read the full judgment yet, because I'm told that one too is not out.
Yes.
But I suspect, and I have made this argument on other platforms, because I made the point that, look, in terms of authority, the nature in which the act was passed in Parliament, one can say that an authority was given, but not in actual form, for the special prosecutor to go ahead with his cases without necessarily referring to the office of the Attorney General. But coming back
to its powers, if the Attorney General today can still enter a nolle prosequi as far as a decision or a withdrawal, as far as the decision of that particular Supreme Court is concerned, the special prosecutor is concerned, clearly, it still means that it is still under the influence of the Attorney General. So what did we do? In spending so much money, energy, and time to create this particular outfit, I acknowledge the admonition that indeed, even in entering a nolle prosequi, the Attorney General must now give reasons in relation to the special prosecutor. But even prior to that, the Attorney General, in the cases that he entered nolle prosequi, proceeded to give us reasons. It's commendable. But for me, we must all stop the window dressing and confront the elephant in the room. The issue is that that office is not insulated from political control in its current form. It is not.
How so?
Because an Attorney General can decide. An Attorney General can decide tomorrow. The MPP is crying about nolle prosequis under this administration. So if tomorrow an Attorney General wakes up and decides that there's an NDC person being tried by the special prosecutor, and he goes to enter a nolle prosequi, what happens? What can you do? It will be lawful. But the judgment that is coming from the Supreme Court. And that's why I'm saying that this country, that lazy approach we have embraced when dealing with issues, we must stop it. And that's the whole essence of this reset agenda. And I believe strongly that that is why the Attorney General and his deputy were doing everything within their power to ensure that we truly restructure this office to be able to live up to its true mandate and the wishes of the Ghanaian people and expectations. But as we speak today, that political influence is still there. If Rolf and the MPP decides that they are persecuting his own when he's Attorney General, he will simply enter a nolle prosequi. And the special prosecutor will not be able to proceed. These are the issues. And look, when the NPP sets up institutions and we seek to perfect them, we are unlike them. People should understand that it is not driven by partisan motive. It is simply driven by a desire to perfect them. Because we are not saying that we are doing away with the law of the special prosecutor. Concerns have been raised about true independence. Let us truly make it independent, such that no president, no Attorney General can tell them who to prosecute and who not to prosecute. That is true independence. And that's what we should work towards. And if there's a need for us to amend the 1992 Constitution to reflect same, we should proceed and do it.
So you don't necessarily agree with this ruling by the Supreme Court? Is that what you're saying?
I have not read. You see, our law lords, when it comes to wisdom, they are the best. You can't. And this bench has some of the finest. But even their hands are tied because they cannot amend Article 88 for you, no matter what they do. So I'm telling us that as political players, we must meet them halfway. The desire to have the special prosecutor independent is clear from the ruling of the Supreme Court. But then again, the political influence is also still apparent from that ruling. That to the extent that an Attorney General appointed by the President can enter a nolle prosequi, that's influence. And how do we resolve that question? The Supreme Court cannot resolve it for us because of Article 88. We can resolve that question by proceeding to ensure that Article 88 is amended in accordance with the 1992 Constitution to truly make that office independent. We can do so.
Do we know if that's also part of the review that's ongoing with the 1992 Constitution?
Most likely. Okay. I do not have the facts. I'm told that today the Minister responsible for Justice and Attorney General would be addressing the press on the government white paper that will be issued or has been issued in relation to the Constitutional Review Commission. Okay. So clearly, Bella, now the beauty of all this, and I'll end on this note, is when cases of this nature come up, from the democratic access to party members to the special prosecutor, I get even more proud being a member of the National Democratic Congress and playing critical role.
Ross is laughing.
In getting His Excellency... No, but this is important. In getting His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama in one way or the other to ascend the presidency and still supporting the dream. Because you see, if governments had adopted this trajectory, placing the national interest first, then forgetting about our parochial partisan desires and interests, I'm sure that would have gone miles ahead by now.
Okay.
And so these steps ought to be commended. The reform at the judicial architecture, the reforms that appears to be taking shape in terms of even institutional reform, are things that we cannot gloss over. And you cannot tell this story tomorrow without making references to His Excellency President Mahama and the free hand he has allowed for state institutions to function, and most importantly, the right on us as Democrats to take advantage of the law and test it like we are doing. And I know
so per your session, you clearly don't believe with Martin Pebu, private legal practitioner, saying, for example, that it's a welcome relief, it's very timely, and it will help to at least keep Kisie Jabe in check for a bit. Ross, how do you respond to this?
I think Martin Pebu is going on a personal level, so I will not comment on that.
How is this personal?
But you know his issues with the OSP. So, I mean, there's a very personal intervention he's making. But I think this morning, my brother Hamza is sounding more political than
really?
legal.
Really?
Yes, I mean. But, you know, regarding this OSP matter, it's quite interesting to tell you that at the law faculty, the person that took us through this OSP Act was long.
Oh, was
so
long.
My lecturer
I see.
You understand? So
we need a whole lecture on this then.
Yeah, he's well versed. I mean, and I know he will be very impartial about it.
Okay.
And
so you're here with your lecturer?
Yeah, my lecturer. I'm sure Hamza, he taught Hamza as well.
No.
Oh, I see.
Anyway, so reading
but some of my colleagues, yes.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2017. Let me read a long title with your indulgence.
Please don't make it too long.
Yeah, of course. An act to establish the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act as specialized agency to investigate specific cases of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses involving public officers and politically exposed persons in the performance of their functions, as well as persons in private sector involved in the commission of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses, prosecute these offenses on the authority of the Attorney General and provide for related matters. Read this in conjunction with Section 4 of the Special Prosecutors Act, and you realize that this suit that was brought before the Supreme Court was much ado about nothing, because the Act is very specific as to the role of the Attorney General when it comes to prosecutions that are made by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. But let me make this point that in this country, we all agree, and I'm sure on this table, nobody will depart from this agreement, that corruption has taken a lot from this country. This country is suffocating under corruption. And we all know that government, in the current arrangement that we have with the Office of the Attorney General, does not have the teeth to bite, especially one of their own, when it comes to the fight against corruption. So the thinking was that let's have an independent body that will have that enablement to fight corruption when it comes. Unfortunately, what the Supreme Court have succeeded in doing is that they've turned this Office of Special Prosecutor into a toothless bulldog. Because how then do you say that a special prosecutor can undertake prosecutions, but Attorney General at any point in time can enter into null prosequi of those prosecutions that the Attorney General, the Office of Special Prosecutor is undertaking? It really defeats the purpose of this very act that was established to fight corruption. In my candid opinion, and I'm sure by extension the opinion of the MPP, is that all the anti-corruption agencies, bodies, should be lumped up together as one body. And I agree with Hamza on this, that this Article 88 must be reviewed. It must be amended. And I have an occasion to write an article on that, which is online.
Okay.
That this Article 88 needs to be amended. Whilst we lump all the IOCO, NIB, Office of Special, lump all of them together and give them that independence to fight corruption in this country.
So why did your party decide to go ahead to set up the Office of the Special Prosecutor?
It's only a fool that does not change his mind. As it stands now, from what we have seen so far with this Office of Special Prosecutor, I think it will be better. The surest way to go is to lump all the anti-corruption bodies together and give them that independence to be able to fight corruption.
When did you see this? When did you notice this?
Bella, stop sounds over form. What are we saying?
No. When did you notice this? Because
this is not necessary.
It is necessary.
It is Ghana we are looking at.
It is necessary because you seem to be pointing fingers at the current party, saying that, looking at how the office has functioned in recent times. But we all know that as far back as when
Bella,
Martin was even the OSP.
Corruption?
Oh, we are, absolutely.
Exactly.
But
we are giving what will help us to
it's a
combat
question I'm asking you, that at what point did you notice that we needed to lump all these offices together? Because OSP was set up under the SWAL government. Even under that government, one special prosecutor left the office because he says he was not being allowed the room to do the work he had to do.
What I'm saying,
there was interference from as high as the presidency.
What I am saying to you, that the Office Prosecutor Act in its current form is not a bad law. Nobody can tell me that this law is a bad law. What I am telling you is the pronouncement that has been made by the Supreme Court yesterday, to the extent that, yes, the Office of Special Prosecutor law is the constitutionality of it is okay. However, the Attorney General can proceed to enter into nolle prosequi in the prosecutions that the Office of Special Prosecutor undertake. And that is where my problem is. And that is why I am suggesting that let's put all these anti-corruption agencies together, grant them independence, whilst we amend Article 88, so that the fight against corruption will be properly enhanced. Otherwise, if we leave it in this form and character, Article 88 will always serve as a bar on the full independence of any anti-corruption agency in this country. Okay. And that's the point you are making.
So you change your mind now. You agree with the position of the NDC. That's commendable.
I've mentioned that I've written an article on this.
I'm only curious.
So you disagree with your party then in opposition?
I don't have time. Let's long come in.
I agree that Article 88 must be reviewed.
Okay. So you think your party made a mistake?
Let's long come.
You think they made a mistake?
Let's think of that.
I don't have time. We have to go. So Long, please, let me give Long a few minutes, please.
Article 88.3. The Attorney General shall be responsible for the initiation and conduct of all prosecution of criminal offences. Simple. That's why, I guess, as Hamza said, the Supreme Court cannot do anything for us, as far as that is concerned. Article 88 is in chapter 8. That chapter is an entrenched chapter. If you want to do anything, you have to go through the referendum, which means that if you do a referendum and we amend 88, then any other prosecutorial body or entity will be independent. For example, Senate does prosecutions, police does prosecutions, ECG does prosecution. They all do it because Attorney General has allowed them. Same way for OSP. And that's why Attorney General can do another prosecution anytime, because as I read, all are done by the Attorney General. Anybody else is doing it at the instance of the Attorney General. And the Attorney General continue to exercise control or supervision over you. So the Supreme Court's decision, it merely restates what we all know, that you can never have an independent prosecutorial body outside Attorney General unless we change or amend, unless we amend Article 88.
All right. Well, our time is up. We have to go. Ross, they said I should still hold your neck to the fire and ask at what point you realize that, you know, the OSP office needed to be lumped up with the others, but I'll leave it there. The viewers are the ones who are asking for it.
But Ross did concede that
we have to go.
Yes.
I know we got a lot of messages. Bismarck says the issue is that the OSP hasn't solved one case since it was created. We had wanted the Supreme Court to declare it unconstitutional, but the court knows best. Okay, you mean the setting up of the OSP? I see. I'm told my time is up, so I know a lot of you were hoping you'd have. Maybe we have to do a one-on-one on this so that you can explain, but another time. But the big issue is sponsored by the University of Gold Coast. Whether you are aiming for a specialist MBA in marketing, communications, operations, supply chain, human resource management, finance, entrepreneurship, innovation, or business intelligence analytics, or you want to advance to a dual MBA or Chartered Manager MBA, University of Gold Coast gives you the options that match your vision. And if your next step is an MSc in international relations, communications, international marketing, international law, security diplomacy, accounting, finance, or human resource management, or an LLM in international law, security diplomacy, or MA in biblical studies, then practical theology as well, then the pathway is open for you. You can apply today because at University of Gold Coast, we make it practical. So you have flexible learning, flexible entry, and flexible payment. You can study around your work and life and choose a route that fits your background and pay in convenient installments. So if you think this is directly targeted at you, then you know what to do. You need to apply to University of Gold Coast now. Log on to www.ugc.edu.gh or call or WhatsApp them on 026-388-8555. 026-388-8555. University of Gold Coast, building leaders for the nations. James White says OSP has just wasted our money. I couldn't, show this on air with regards to the parties and how many times they have filed their political statements. But I guess that's for another time. I want to say thank you to Hamza Suini, a member of the NDC, also a private legal practitioner. And Ross is here as well. Ross Owusu is a private legal practitioner and a member of the MPP Comms team. We had Musa Dankwa join us via Zoom, the Executive Director for Global Info Analytics, and Lom Nuku Alija, he's a lawyer and a law lecturer as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Yes, once the lecture, always take it. We need to do a one-on-one on that. Yes. Maybe another time. But anyway, we'll be back with more sports coming up right after this.
You score either 10 or 1, you still have 3 points.
Yes.
But if we scored more, it would still be an advantage.
It would be a big advantage.
Because of the number of goals,
yes,
right?
but we couldn't score more. But head coach Kim Lasbjorkegren is very happy that the team won.
A little bit, to be honest. I can give you that. I had a little bit of a heads up in the morning before the breakfast with the girls, to a reminder that nothing comes for free in this tournament. So actually we spoke about some of the other teams' performances and the results as well. So that we needed to be on our toes, and we needed to be ready for this game today, because we all know in a group stage with only 3 games, if you lose the first one, you're putting yourself a little bit in the corner. So we said we needed to do everything we can to win the first one. So I'm of course happy that we did. Make us out from the group stage into the playoff, and the quarterfinal is no help this year, so we want to win that to qualify for the World Cup.
On the face of the coach says everything. Yeah.
He knows how big this win is, because it's the goal here is to qualify for the Women's World Cup.
Yeah.
If we go a step further and win it, hooray, it's an icing on the cake. But the main goal is to be part of the Final Four, so we make the Women's World Cup in Brazil in 2027.
WAFU Championships.
Today, there's a big game. Ghana coming up against Burkina Faso. We lost our first game by 4-2 against Nigeria. And Coach Maxwell Kunedu has been speaking, talking about the fact that he's covered all the cracks, and now he's spoken to the boys. So we are coming with a lot of urgency. It's Ghana against Burkina Faso. Let's hear from Coach Maxwell Kunedu.
On Monday, we've kept that behind us. It's past and gone. There's nothing we can do about it. But going forward, I think the assignment ahead of us is very, very important and crucial to all of us. So that is what we are, thinking about and working towards to, achieve our objectives. For the positive side of the game, we told the boys that we need to use ball circulation to our advantage, and where we are strong at, especially with our wide areas, we need to exploit those areas very, very well. And I think if we continue to do that, we were discussing with the players to help the entire team. Secondly, we also spoke about how to defend very well.
Well, let's hope that we go into the Burkina Faso game with some good strategy to help us emerge winners.
We need to win because we lost our first game, so we have to win, or at least get a draw and see if we can win our last game against Togo. But it should be a win for us. If Nigeria was too strong, we should be able to match up with Burkina.
Indeed. 2026 Commonwealth Games.
I mean, mixed feelings, mixed reactions coming from
Glasgow. It looks
Glasgow.
like this year we're not doing so well on that front.
I'm missing out on that 100-meter men's podium. Was a headful one, but good news is that Joseph Poamoa and Dazi have qualified for the 200-meter semi-final, the men's 200-meter semi-final, which would come off today, and we are hoping that they would also ease their way into the final, and let's see if Ghana would get more medal. But yesterday, Joseph Poamoa there provided a very, very strong performance in the quarterfinal, actually to win. But here is Ghana's medal haul, the Commonwealth Games since 2002. 2002, we won just one medal, which was the bronze medal. 2006, we made it 3 in there with 2 gold and 1 bronze. 2010, it was 1 silver, 3 bronze, and it was 4. 2014, we just had 2 medals. 2018, it was 1. 2022, we
that was
had
our biggest.
Yes, that was our biggest. We had 5 in there. 2026, we have 1, and 1 is already assured because with the boxing, once you get into the final 4, you are assured of a bronze, at least a bronze medal.
But I thought, as I said yesterday, we had 2.
We had 2. So 1 is already assured. Once our boxer has qualified into the top 4, we are assured of 1 in there. So we are hoping that it would come. But there's a breaking news because the CAF Interclub draw is set for August 6th. So the likes of Mediema, who will be representing Ghana in the CAF Champions League, will get to know their opponent on August 6th. And we are hoping Mediema would go far and even enter the group stage at this time.
Let's see what happens. Thank you very much,
Welcome.
Demotola Yakubu. Will bring us the latest in sports. When we come back, we have some more for you. Just stay with us.
Just as tonight is the place to be.
conversations on what we're having ongoing currently. We call it the Ghana AI Summit. I have some great people who have always, I think that'll be the second generation after Dr. Ani, who have led a revolution right here. So Dr. Kwesi Ahiabeno is an IT expert and chair for the Ghana AI Summit. It's ongoing. Kwame, Doc, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Great.
How are you too?
I'm well.
Pleasure to see you after many years now.
You see, Kojo Boache, how are you as well?
Very well, sir.
Yeah.
Very well.
And Kojo Boache is Meta's Vice President of Public Policy for Africa, Middle East, and Turkey. That will be Turkey, as we all know it. And Meta also means that, you know, they started Facebook. They used to be called Facebook, right?
We did.
Yeah, many of us don't tend to. But how has the summit gone so far, Doc?
So far, we have had an exciting day yesterday. So we started the day with a keynote address. We had a panel where we discussed the national AI strategy implementation. We had the Minister of Communication delivering a speech. Then we also had a number of sessions talking about some key issues. Then we ended the day with the first Ghana National AI Challenge, where we had a number of people putting in solutions related to the local market. So we had over 100 applications in there. We shortlisted 12 of them, and they went through a process, and we had winners. Then more importantly also, we also had a master class where we are taking the participants through robotics.
All right. You know, for us, when we're seeing this conference ongoing now, climaxing about to end, and it's on AI, then, you know, we begin to imagine so many things. We're still using, or we started using the applications, etc. But really, even me, I don't know. I just read about it, and I just can't crunch what the language is and then what it means. AI.
So AI does not have a universal definition. However, I can do an attempt at a description. It's basically giving the abilities of machines to act, to behave like humans in the layman terms. So think about it. Previously, if I sent a journalist out to do a report, you come back and pull the script together. Today, you can use AI to generate that story. Today, we don't have secretaries because transcription, where somebody has to listen to all that and write it down, is not happening. Graphic design.
Yeah.
A lot of graphic design is being done by AI. So it's the ability of machines to do what some humans can do. The intelligent bit is that the machines have the ability to learn. And that's the core of machine learning and all that. I don't want to go into details, but we have to look at it in a sense that it gives the machines the ability to mimic what humans do. And that's why we call them artificial intelligence.
And over time, you'll find that the AI is learning based on what you feed.
Absolutely. That's what's key to it. So unhuman-like, you have to keep feeding it information in order for it to learn. So there's this idea from many that it goes away and learns independently. There is some aspect of that. For the most part, though, it's about feeding it information, labeling that information about your context, where you are, how you operate, in what ways might this artificial intelligence enhance your life, enhance your outcomes, help you meet your diary requirements, etc. You mentioned that actually you don't use AI as much as some people do, but I
do use it.
Absolutely.
I use the applications a lot.
Excellent. So I would push back. I would even suggest that many Ghanaians use AI.
What do you think, based on or what you know, that in Ghana, do we have structures, development and rollout, etc.? What's your own observation so far?
I think the rollout's been going on for a long time, and that's what I mentioned, that many Ghanaians, in some ways, unwittingly use AI. So people who use maps to find their way to places are using AI all the time. People who use WhatsApp and translate languages are using AI all the time. People who use Reels on Instagram and shown content that may be interesting to them are using AI all the time. But I think Ghana is set to go even further. The advent of the AI strategy produced or launched in April 2026 gives us structures and a roadmap for where we want to go. I know the government is highly focused on it. At the same time, what you're seeing is the uptake of AI through Meta AI that's within WhatsApp, within Instagram, within Facebook, and a standalone app. you're seeing more and more Ghanaians and Africans in general. We have some of the highest usage of AI across the world. You're seeing more and more people take up the opportunity to use AI as well. So I think we're well positioned.
Okay, so at the end of the day, we also need to make sure that we identify areas that needs to be using it. And since we're already using it, which areas is AI impacting, so to speak?
A number of areas, actually almost every part of our lives, but there are some standout examples where it could have a tremendous impact. In agriculture, we're seeing food resilience, people using AI to better understand disease and to find new opportunities. At the summit, Kwame, we had a young group of developers who have developed an app that enables them to identify and differentiate between coconut husk and then to take the best of those husks to market where it can be reproduced and made into products downstream.
Yeah.
So we're seeing food resilience, we're seeing greater agricultural output, and we're seeing more and more business coming from AI. We're also seeing it in health. There are some applications developed by Jacaranda Health, which is working with the Ghana Health Authority to improve maternal health, and that's built on our open source AI model Llama. So in health, in education, in general business and commerce, we're seeing AI have great impact. And we at Meta believe the potential is for it to be much, much more. Because of the way that Ghanaians are taking up technology, because of the way they operate, because of the way they're trying to improve business outcomes, improve their lives, improve education, we're excited about the future.
Yeah, and Doc, at the end of the day, with this conference, it also means that you have an aggregation of everybody else, but it cannot be enough in terms of the numbers and where they're coming from, etc. With this, it means that after this, we could have more of such conversations with such an AI conference or summit.
Yeah, so we planted the seed for this AI summit in March last year.
Okay.
And after that, each month we had sessions on different topics. So this is not a one-time event, it's a process. Our idea is to build the ecosystem, and any ecosystem have stakeholders. So we are connecting the stakeholders, we are ensuring that there's no duplication of efforts. We are encouraging them. There was, for example, to ensure that, yes, we are not building like the biggest solution in the world, but whatever solution is being developed today, we need to celebrate that. So our idea is to use this event as an encore to ensure that the ecosystem will strive. So that every Ghanaian living everywhere can leverage AI for whatever opportunities that they want to use it for.
And in the coming month, Kojo, what do you envisage? What do you think will be the launch parts so that we could have some building blocks?
So I think the summit's helpful. I think the AI strategy that's being developed is helpful. I'm excited by what I've seen in terms of what's being developed here in Ghana, things like Vaxus that are helping us understand climate change and also being carbon neweral and getting onto international carbon markets are very exciting. The young people that I mentioned creating the husk, so there's lots of excitement there. But at Meta, we're incredibly excited about the future that we are trying to create, which is where you go from a narrow intelligent type of AI to super intelligence. We're actually, as Kwame described, the kind of AI that helps us and becomes more intuitive, more personal, more helpful, more impactful, becomes part of our lives. And that will be available at some point in the future, I hope, through WhatsApp, through Instagram, through Facebook, using wearables as well. And those things are what excites us most.
I'm just trying to see whether when you say wearables here, a friend of mine is currently wearing one. So, he keeps recording everybody around, and he goes home and sends me the video and says, "You said this." So
well, interestingly, the recording part, I hope when you're looking at him recording, you can see the light on here shining. So if I start recording, you'll see a light shining. So that's a good part.
So he has one which has a feature, and he can take that one off.
You can take the light off?
Yeah, you can take it off.
Then it can't be Meta Ray-Bans. Unless you're using some sort of tape, it can't be Meta Ray-Bans.
There are a lot of Chinese generics.
There are competing. I think what we've done really well is open up a market and open up people's thinking about how we can integrate tech into wearables. So you're seeing companies use rings for our health. You're seeing us use these glasses to make phone calls, listen to music, record and take pictures. I think one of the things that's top of mind for us all the time is privacy and safety as you use these. And that's why with all Meta frames, you'll see these and the light will come on if I take a picture or record to indicate to people that's what's happening.
Okay. Again, when you say the conference is starting?
It started yesterday, we're ending today.
Okay. But if somebody wants to participate from now?
Yeah, so you
to
just go to the Ghana AI Summit, just Google it up, you have the details there, you are welcome to join. And as I mentioned, at 4 p.m. today, we're going to have the AI Awards, and we want to celebrate some of the successes in the industry.
Which location was the venue?
We are doing this at the College of Physicians and Surgeons, which is Ridge, a few minutes from here.
Yeah, just
down
the road.
Yes, so once you go to the website also, you can have the opportunity to view some of the content online also.
All right, 30 seconds for both of you. How do we make sure after the conference we keep the conversation ongoing? Maybe for next year or the next time you're able to aggregate everybody to put together a summit.
So the AI does not sleep like other things. So the world is moving, so we have to be intentional about it. So the idea is that we should have measurable goals, and the strategy, as you mentioned, which was launched, provides some of those pillars. And I think the key for me is to ensure that you have the human capacity.
Yeah.
And for Meta, since you're there as well.
For us, continued forward progression. How do we continue developing the models and ensuring everybody who wants to use AI has the ability to do so through WhatsApp, through Instagram, through Facebook, and continue to invest in infrastructure like To Africa, training that we've done. I think actually doing that and implementing the goals of the AI strategy that's been developed will generate and necessitate a continued conversation.
All right. So Kojo Boakye is Meta's Vice President of Public Safety for Africa, Middle East, and Turkey as well. And then, of course, long-standing has been part of the ecosystem. Actually, both of them had worked together over 2 decades. And Dr. Kwame, his conversation this album was AI, etc. But it's here to complement our lives, actually.
Absolutely.
All right. We're taking this album was AI, etc. But it's here to complement our lives, actually.
Absolutely.
All right. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Okay.
Find out more about how to have a comfortable home. Either you're buying or you want to rent to own, you want to pay critical attention to this conversation. I'm joined in the studio now by Mr. Prosper Huetu, who is the Chief Executive Officer, National Home Ownership Fund, NHF Ghana. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Beatrice.
And we also do have with us Mr. Geno Habib Han. J'espère que j'ai eu la prononciation correctement.
Absolument.
Okay. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us as well. All right. So perhaps I can start with you, Mr. Huetu. No. Actually, let me start with you because you're with the Shelter Afrique Development Bank. And just want to find out really when it comes to your role in housing finance and urban development in Accra, first of all.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on the program. So my name is Geno Habib Han. I am the CEO of Shelter Afrique Development Bank. We are multilateral financial institutions owned by African governments and the African Development Bank and Africa Re. We were created in 1982, so it's been 45 years. So we just celebrated our 45th year anniversary last month.
50 years?
Rabat, 45.
Okay.
45 years, still 5 years to go to celebrate our 50th. So our institution has been engaged across the continent over the years, and Ghana is one of the shareholders of the institution. Ghana has joined us many years ago as a shareholder and investor, and Shelter Africa has operated also in Ghana, financing projects and initiatives across the housing value chain. So we've been financing banks, developers. We worked with the likes of Ghana Home Loans, the inception, because our role is really to empower development of affordable housing across different countries. And the institution, when it was created, the mandate was very clear, was to address the major housing deficit across the continent. Today, we have a housing deficit of about 53 million units across the continent. Ghana is about 1.8 million. And if you assume a home price is about $25,000 on average home price, to be conservative, you need more than $1 trillion in funding in the housing space in Africa.
And for you, that's where you think that you should come in to fill that critical gap?
That's our mandate. Our mandate is actually to address the value chain constraints, to promote affordable housing and to mobilize the resources to actually finance the full value chain.
I'll come to you very shortly, but this is TV3 Newday. There's a breaking news coming in. And this is still TV3 Newday. The breaking news coming in is that the Court of Appeal has acquitted and discharged former Maslok CEO Sedina Tamaklo Atuonu. And if you've been following the story, she was sentenced to 10 years in jail in April 2024. And after Yoko's investigation into her operations as former CEO of Maslok, it has to do with some financial malfeasance. And you know that she was being tried alongside another person who actually served the jail term. She was in US, and eventually, with the state beginning the extradition process, she was brought into Ghana, or she actually returned through that process the 9th of July, and we heard that her case was going to be appealed. She came to Ghana to serve her 10-year term, but now the breaking news coming in is that the Court of Appeal has acquitted and discharged her, and that's the former Maslok CEO Sedina Tamaklo Atuonu. Perhaps I can bring you some more facts about it before we continue with this interview and conversation. I did say that on January 30, 2019, she was arraigned and before the Accra High Court. And like I did say, she was a former CEO, and she faced 78 counts, including conspiracy to commit crime and unauthorized commitment. Well, she failed to return to Ghana after the period approved by the court, and the court subsequently issued a warrant for her arrest and continued the trial in absentia. And so when she was jailed or given that 10-year sentence, she was not in Ghana. And when she returned on the 9th of June, the expectation was that she would go ahead and serve her jail term. And now the breaking news coming in that the court has acquitted and discharged her. And of course, in the course of our conversation, we'll be bringing you more of that. If you're just joining us, the former CEO of Maslok, Sedina Tamaklu, has just been acquitted and discharged by the Court of Appeal. We'll bring you some more on this. You want to stay tuned in with us. Let's just try and wrap up this conversation. Mr. Hotu, the National Housing Fund, one of the popular schemes that you have has to do with renting to own. But you were telling me earlier that you've actually got other schemes as well. Tell us more about what you do and really the role of this bank in your work.
Thank you, Beatrice. So the National Home Ownership Fund is a state-owned housing finance company. And as Habib mentioned, Ghana is a member and shareholder of Shelter Africa Development Bank, which is also into housing finance on the continent. And by virtue of our membership, we are eligible to access financing from the bank to support housing delivery in Ghana. And so we've been exploring those partnerships. So for NHF, we run a low-interest mortgage scheme targeting particularly first-time home owners. And currently it's at single digits. And then we also run the rent-to-own scheme. And then we provide construction financing for affordable housing as well. So our partnership with Shelter Africa is to run a diagnostic study of the housing ecosystem, which we call VIRAL, which we signed. We signed an agreement on Tuesday with the Ministry of Works and Housing, so that once that is completed, we'll come up with a country strategy to be able to roll out, mobilize more resources from development, Shelter Africa and other finance institutions.
Did I hear you say a country's strategy?
Yes.
As in a specific strategy for Ghana?
Exactly.
Tell us more about that.
So the study that Shelter Africa is helping us to do will run between now and December. It's in 2 phases. So the diagnostic study will look at government's vision. His Excellency the President is very passionate about the delivery of affordable and low-cost housing. So we look at that vision and how various institutions, actors, and the regulators can work together to implement that vision to deliver low-cost and affordable housing to the people of Ghana. So once that study is completed, we would discuss the findings at a national conference on housing finance in October. And then the country strategy would have been ready in December for implementation. So the strategy will help us identify all the major priority areas and mobilize various stakeholders, including the IFC, the World Bank, our banks, our financial institutions, pension funds, on how we can deploy resources to tackle the housing challenge, because it's become a big issue. Affordability is a big issue.
And that's where I was going to, because a lot of the time, the complaint is that even the government-led housing projects are so expensive, the ordinary Ghanaian cannot afford.
Yeah.
Tell us, averagely, how much somebody should be expecting to pay, either for the mortgage one you talk about, or the rent-to-own, where after a lump sum, you're supposed to be paying some monthly allowances.
So currently, it depends on where you are. So in other places in the country, you may get a house for about 300,000, 400,000 cedis. And so taking also into account your income. So we need to also know how much you earn. But currently, from our analysis for our mortgage, with a salary of about 3,000 cedis, you can afford a house that may be around...
A two-bedroom?
Yeah, two-bedroom, which may be about 300,000 cedis. Yes, so that's the minimum that we are talking about. So for our mortgage scheme, which we are running currently with Republic Bank, you just have to identify a property that is within your affordability, like your ability to
And I
afford.
guess you will do assessment as to whether or not it meets the pricing that the people will be giving.
That is a mandate of a different institution. But we try to identify those properties that are within range, and then you approach the banks, they do that assessment, and then they'll be able to advance you the low interest mortgage to be able to acquire your house.
And I want to come back to you, Mr. Abiban. Exactly, if you can tell us beyond what you said earlier, what role you play again in this to ensure that it's a 50-50 or win-win situation?
No, absolutely. Without repeating what the CEO, to understand the lay of the ground and identify all the reforms and improvements that needs to be carried and include the full value chain, all the actors, the developers, the financial institutions, the home ownership fund, the government, the reforms, the collateral registry at the central bank, the land registry, the business registry. So the full value chain to really make sure that we remove all the bottlenecks and constraints. And as my colleague mentioned earlier, the whole idea for us is to come up with this strategic document, which we call CHOOPS. It's the Country Housing Urban Partnership Strategy for Ghana, which would address specific issues in Ghana and scale up affordable housing. And our partnership will go beyond that diagnostic and also the strategy. It will be to define a pipeline of projects, because we're very concrete. We want to make sure that we address the 1.8 million housing deficit. So we'll come up with PPP transactions and different other product lines that we have, because if you look at our new strategy, again, we just underwent a major transformation into a development bank. And with that, we have a new strategy which looks at housing from a value chain perspective. So we have 4 main business lines. We finance banks, financial institutions. We finance developers. We finance government and government agencies to PPPs, public-private partnerships. And finally, we have a fund management group where we have thematic areas addressing housing for different impact areas, such as green climate resilience, gender, so financing housing for women and women-owned businesses in the housing construction value chain, SME and trade in housing construction to create jobs really in the sector. And then it's infrastructure, basic infrastructure, access to water, electricity, sewage.
Just to ensure that it is habitable after the project is done. In 30 seconds, if you can tell us all we need to know before we wrap up this conversation.
All right, so one of the things that we are trying to do is to set up a mortgage refinancing company with the support of Shelter Africa Development Bank, because mortgage rates are very high because the banks don't have long-term capital to deploy. So we are doing that partnership as well, and hopefully we should be able to expand mortgage penetration in Ghana, which currently is below 1% to GDP, compared to the United States, which is about 52%, and even South Africa, which is about 20%. So
Indeed.
We want to do that so that more Ghanaians will be empowered to own their homes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prosper Huetu, Chief Executive Officer, National Home Ownership Fund, NHF Ghana. Thank you very much for joining us. Also to you as well, Mr. Shedno Abib Han, Managing Director, Shelter Afrique Development Bank. That's SHAF DB.
Correct.
Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing these with us. And I'm going back to, if you're just joining us, that breaking news that we brought you just some few minutes ago. On TV3 Newday, the breaking news coming in is that the Court of Appeal has discharged the former Maslock CEO, and the court ruled that the former Maslock CEO, Sedinat Tamaklo Atuonu, should not have been sentenced as the prosecution could not prove the charges leveled against her. Let me just take you through really how the case has traveled. Remember that she was jailed in absentia 10 years, and that was in April 2024, together or alongside a colleague for causing financial loss of 90 million Ghana cedis to the state. And I did say earlier that she came back to Ghana following that extradition process started by the Attorney General on the 9th of June 2026. And we also know that a case started in 2012 when the Economic and Organized Crime Office, YOCO, began investigations into what it called fraudulent disbursement. And now we're hearing from the Court of Appeal that she's been discharged and acquitted. And let's bring you some more in terms of how the case has traveled and how we got to where we are now. My colleague Roland Walker is on the other side of the studio just to take us through some of them.